we doing it?
This is it.
Welcome,
bro.
everyone. Should I do it?
Do it. Go.
You should start singing Jane by Jefferson Starship.
And you know what that means. It's this week's episode of Hey, did you see this one? And if you tuned in tonight to decide whether or not you should go see Cocaine Bear,
you should probably have left a little pause between Hey, did you see this one and the next. But anyway.
Did I fuck up?
No, you should leave a pause between you sort of went like, hey, did you see this one? And you didn't really like actually leave a breathable moment to cut for Jason.
For editing purposes?
For editing purposes, yes.
For editing purposes.
Thank you, everyone, for humoring us during this a slightly different episode this week. We're going through a little bit of some changes, some moving and whatnot. You guys don't need to worry about that. You don't even care about that. You came to hear about us talk about Cocaine Beer. Myself and my fellow hosts, Jace Man and Steven.
Jace Man and me, Steven. I have no nickname. I'm the nicknameless man.
H2O. And we are diving deep into the acclaimed Cocaine Bear.
Acclaimed?
It was acclaimed by the garbage people. They came out from the garbage and claimed it as their own.
I'm gonna let everyone know that this episode might be a little rough compared to some of our previous episodes. We're not holding any punches, no hold bars. But we will start off as we always do with our first memories, what we remember from when we first saw this. And Steven, if you'd like to go first, what do you remember about the first time you saw Cocaine Bear?
This is kind of a weird segment because usually we do this because the movies that we talk about, have our discussions about are often from the 80s or 90s, where it's like, well, I have a very interesting anecdote. When I was 10 years old, I saw this movie and it terrified me. This movie came out this year, so I saw it earlier this year when it came out. I believe it went on sale on Xbox or the Microsoft Store or whatever for like $4 one night. So I bought it and I was like, yeah, I'll buy this and watch this weird shit. Because I thought it was going to be the same sort of idea as Snakes on a Plane or Sharknado or whatever, where it's just like garbage. And it was, but it wasn't as fun as Snakes on a Plane or even Sharknado, because it wasn't the kind of garbage that you expected. But yeah, the first time I saw this was a couple months ago when it first went into the Microsoft Store, and I bought it for $4. A good price for this.
Well, you got overcharged if you ask me. But that's a great answer nonetheless. Which brings us to you, Jason. What do you remember about the first time watching Cocaine Bear?
It's worth noting that Steve is right. This movie came out literally this year, and this whole month, we're doing movies that are new, and we came up with some convoluted name, and it's something like real
recently reviews. Released reels Riposte or something.
Yes, recently released reveals Riposte. Like,
reveals.
I reveal to you that I
forgot.
Oh, and my throat's
REEL, we should say.
Yeah, and also riposte like fencing.
Like
and we watched this movie, and the first time I watched this movie was Monday, and I sat and watched the whole thing because I was excited for it. These movies are going to be movies that I just like. New movies, it's like 90s movies and like extremely new movies I'll sit and watch as like that's what I'm doing for that couple hours. It's the 80s movies and the 70s movies and some of the early 2000s where I'm just like this one I actually watched with my wife. You guys asked me after I came onto our chat and said, Steve, I believe you asked me, what did you expect? And I'll tell you, I've thought about this quite a bit since then. I expected like more of a tongue-in-cheek like comedy. I didn't know that it all took place in like I knew that it was going to be like a few different stories that of people interacting with the Cocaine Bear. So I went into it more so thinking it was going to be I didn't know it, like I said, I didn't know it took place all in the park. I thought it was going to be like the bear traveling across Like I thought it was gonna be like a reverse travel movie where we just see the bear interact with these like different groups of people in more of a comedy way. Maybe one of the stories was like a little bit horror. I didn't realize this was like I didn't realize this was like comedy Jaws. It's kind of a take on the Jaws formula where
Jaw
there's
dropping comedy, because they dropped the concept of Jaws being a severely good horror movie.
Yeah.
And also funny.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my first foray. I just want to mention though that I watched this with my wife who like never watches horror, and the look on her face at some of these moments, like she's not like, she doesn't hate gore, and this movie doesn't really fall into that like spooky horror, but there are a lot of weird like jump scares, like just like and she wasn't really down with that. So it was kind of, I think I was feeling a lot of her energy, but also I just didn't have that great of a time watching this. And it started so strong, you know, like the guys being wackies, all coked out.
Wet Hot American Summer. I was like, oh man.
And that's the other thing too. Like Elizabeth Banks
was in that movie.
I'm sure that she was like, I'm making a comedy, I'm going to use the song from the movie that I was in, get instant recognition. Anyway, we'll talk about it more in the body of the episode, but I
think that's also like a very drug related song.
True.
Right?
Yeah. It's probably like in Blow. It's probably in
it's in all the cocaine movies.
This takes place in 85, right? So
yeah.
So cocaine was huge.
Cocaine was huge in 85. I was born in 85, and I'm sure
was that song huge in 85 though?
Probably.
Jason, do you remember that year 85 when you were around?
Yeah, when I was 1, when I was 0. Big year for me.
It'd be funny if the song came out after 85 and it was just a horrible mistake. Kind of like the movie being made.
I'm curious about why.
Let me shed my first experience with this movie, and then we'll get into the bulk of the episode. But I went to go see this movie with my friend when it came out in theaters a few months ago, and I, like you, Jason, had an expectation that it was going to be like a silly, stupid comedy, like an Anchorman or something, right? Yeah. Like kind of like Judd Apatow type comedies. Like Cocaine Bear. What a ridiculous title! What a concept! It's got to be silly and ridiculous. And so going into the theater with that mindset, I think actually ruined it for me because of going in with that expectation, right? But my first time seeing it was a few months ago in theaters with my friend. I believe we had a little medicine, and yeah, that was my first time.
Wait, hold on a second. Is your poster and potentially the poster that I posted, is there like another Cocaine Bear that's a Peacock documentary?
Oh, probably a documentary about the story,
the actual story. This is based on a true story. That's funny. That's not the poster for Cocaine Bear, but that is the font for the movie Cocaine Bear. I think
they probably released they released it. It's like the Blair Witch stuff we've talked about before, where a network will connect itself to a movie. Peacock, I assume, is probably, it's NBC, right? So it's, I think, connected to Universal.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think one of the brilliant parts of this movie is the marketing, right? Like the movie made a lot of money. It made almost $100 million. It probably has. Like, what?
No, sorry. Finish your thought. I was just going to add on to it.
I don't remember what I was saying. You said
there's a movie called The Producers where they made a bad play or something like that, where they were going to get a bunch of people come opening night and make all their money, but then they weren't going to come back again, so they didn't have to keep producing the show, so they were going to save money. And but then it became a big hit.
Yes. Thank you for the producer's history lesson.
I hope they turn this into a big stage play, because I think that would be more entertaining.
A big puppet Cocaine Bear with 5 guys in interpretive dance black outfits, just puppeteering a big dusty bear. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, the movie I think made just under 90 million, and it was only 35 million to make.
And not for nothing, the movie looks good. Like, it's well shot. There's some cool shots, like Elizabeth.
I don't know if I agree, but let me just if I may go over, just summarize the movie quickly so we don't have to go beat for beat everything that happened.
Okay.
We can just talk about it.
Okay.
So the movie is based on a true story, very loosely. If there was a scale of like, if there's a scale of like
Some
1 to
cocaine
5,
was in the forest and a bear got into it.
if there was a scale of 1 to 5, and 1 being the least accurate to a true story and 5 being the maximum, this would be like 0.5, maybe like just under a 1. Where, you know, a guy was dumping cocaine out of a plane. He jumped out and his parachute didn't open and he died. And
no, he hit his head. He knocked himself out, so he couldn't open his parachute.
Well, that happened in the movie. I'm talking about in real life, Kellen.
Oh.
Talking about the real life story. And they found cocaine in the woods, and they did find a bear that had eaten a brick of cocaine and died.
That bear fucking died, by the way. They set this movie up for a sequel, and that the real bear fucking its heart exploded because it literally ate several bricks of cocaine.
Yeah, it ate it, and it started to like the way it felt, so it ate more, and then it just died. But that's not great for a movie. You have to make the cocaine bear be a crazy drug addict and love cocaine.
It's a good lesson for all you kids out there, though. Do not eat a whole brick of cocaine.
No,
yeah,
don't do
or
cocaine
just don't
until you're
eat
at least 20.
cocaine at all.
What?
But I said don't eat cocaine at all, Jason. Whatever you said shouldn't have been said at all, I think. The movie is about, like Jason said, several story arcs kind of happening simultaneously. Some of them weave together and some of them don't until the very end. But you know, there's several groups of people. They're all in the same wilderness preserve where the bear lives. And the main bulk of the story is a mother looking for her 2 children who have skipped school to go paint some waterfalls. They run into the cocaine bear. The next thread is the park ranger and a park inspector.
Trying to get a hot date.
Yeah, and they have I mean, she's like obsessed with him. He's not. But they meet up with the mom to help her find the kids. And then there's also young Han Solo and Ice Cube's son. I don't remember their character names.
Holy shit,
David
Steve, thank you so much. I didn't look up the cast. I forgot to after the movie. I spent that whole movie going, where do I know Eddie from? He looks so familiar. Where do I know him from? That's Han Solo.
Han Solo and Ice Cube's son. They're
Ice Cube's son.
They're criminals who work for Ray Liotta, and Ray Liotta also is Eddie's dad. And he sends the 2 of them to go look for the cocaine because the Colombians are mad. And then they run into a bunch of gang, like a small shitty gang. They're like just goofy teenagers who are like rob people in the park. And then there is Ray Liotta, and then there's also the detective character who is trying to figure out where the cocaine is. And all of these people are just kind of going through the park together, and it all ends up in this climax where a bunch of people die, and the mom and the 2 kids and Ray Liotta and his son and the cocaine bear and her cubs are all on the edge of a cliff, and it's so strange and off-putting for the rest of the tone of the movie. And then, you know, the cocaine is never retrieved. Ray Liotta dies. The mom and the kids get away, and young Han Solo and Ice Cube get away with a dog.
Is it a Shih Tzu? I think it might be a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's a Shih Tzu. Yeah, sure, why not? And
Shih Tzu.
yeah, the movie is a slow jaunt through the woods, and slowly people get picked off by the cocaine bear, but not like too slowly, some would say. There's also another group, which is like 2 hikers who are, I think, like Swedish or something, and they are the first people to see the cocaine bear, and one of them is the guy from Game of Thrones, but I can't remember his character name from Game of Thrones or his name in real life.
He's also
but his wife,
Christopher Hivju, maybe.
Probably.
He was also in the Hobbit movies.
He was in the Hobbit movies?
I think so.
As who?
One of
those like
hobbits.
Gnome troll guy.
One of the gnomes. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's no gnomes in Lord of the Rings.
I thought the crew of fucking dudes. I guess he's not. I thought that he was because he's got that face.
He's got that dwarf face.
Dwarves, yeah, that's the one.
They're dwarves, yeah, they're not gnomes. No, he's not in The Hobbit, but he does have a beard in everything he's in, so I can see why you would think that.
Yes.
I have a beard.
Yeah, and if you were in this movie, I would have been like, was that guy in The Hobbit maybe as one of the dwarves? I would say that about both of you.
Could I be in The Hobbit as one of the dwarfs? Oh,
Yeah,
he's
you
in
guys are both dwarves.
he's in The Fate of the Furious, Fast 8.
Oh yeah, he plays a dwarf in it.
Yeah. He sticks out in that movie. I've seen the last like few Fast and Furious movies, unfortunately, and he sticks out like a sore thumb because that dude like looks like that in everything he does, and that's why I was just like, oh yeah, of course he was in the old Hobbit movies there.
Yeah.
But no, he's
That's his
Tormund
look.
Giant's Bane in Game of Thrones.
Tormund, yeah.
Tormund.
And he loves Brienne of Tarth. He wants to make giant
He
babies
wants to
with
make gigantic babies with her, and all of their interactions were the best parts of the last little bit of that show. But this isn't a podcast about Game of Thrones. This is a podcast about a bear who loves doing cocaine.
Yeah, you know what would have made this movie better is if the person who wrote it was actually on cocaine the entire time while writing it. It probably would have been way more unhinged and crazy.
I don't know if it's written like a fucking 80s nightmare movie.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What was something that you guys liked about this movie?
There was some funny dialogue, I think. I don't think there was any like visual gag that made me chuckle, but there was a lot of dialogue stuff that I was like, this is so silly. And like, I would actually kind of start chuckling to myself on the couch, which I don't really do very often when I'm by myself.
I would have to agree with that, Steve. The whole opening where the couple is like taking pictures, they see bear, they're like, you know, they saw the beluga. They talk about the beluga whales in Finland. Like, we have such good luck in nature.
Yeah, first the belugas and now this.
They're taking pictures of this fucking bear who's just like,
he's rubbing his back in a
tree,
just like,
and then he starts bashing his head on the tree, and you're like, uh-oh. And then
Tormund's like, it's demented, I think. I think it's demented.
And then it does that thing where it disappears, and then we got our first jump scare. It pops back up.
Yeah.
That's a thing. I do like daytime horror. I like horror movies that take place in the daytime. It's a unique feel, you know, like Midsummer. This movie is not Midsummer. Let's not get it twisted.
Well, the thing that I like visually, this movie is filmed all during the day, like you said, but except the end chunk. But they've clearly like color corrected it to make it seem darker, which is a trick that people use to make CGI look better if it's bad, right? So I suspect that they probably did this in order to make the bear look better, but it has this weird effect on the entire movie that makes it seem like, you know, when there's a sun shower and there's like a dark cloud that's blocking the sun, but the rest of the sky is still bright, so you're getting this sort of like weird effect from the light. It feels like that. It almost feels like a weird artificial or unnatural sort of lighting.
Shadow. I found that the bear goes from like sometimes really bad to sometimes they clearly spent all the money on these like up close shots to get the detail. It looks kind of like a video game, but the quality. I just also watched Kingdom of the Crystal Skull this week, and those fucking gophers that everybody hated like look bad now. Because the movie's from 2008, and I would liken the special effect quality of the bear to be closer to like something from that time.
The production time of this movie as well was not it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a huge amount of time. There was a quick turnaround on this movie, but the special effects house that did the bear is Weta Workshop, which is the like gold standard of special effects in the world. Like, they do the best special effects in terms of computer generation and practical effects. It is a little bit disappointing that there was absolutely zero practical effects for the bear. There was not a single shot where the bear was a real thing.
What about when it grabbed the carrot sticks? I thought that might have been like an actual practical.
It looked fake to me, man. And fur is like notoriously easy to tell when it's not real, you know.
Yeah.
There was not a single moment in this entire movie except when Ray Liotta gets his guts ripped out and they're being pulled out that I'm like, oh, that's real. That's a practical effect. And they like clearly had someone like pulling it, and then they CGI the bears in.
I think when the person's hand just like falls off, I think that was.
I still disagree with that. No, I disagree. I think that was fake. Yeah.
Okay.
I
think they actually took a woman and flipped her upside down and scraped her whole body across the concrete.
Oh yeah, that was real. That part was real.
That was great.
Yeah. Also, that guy when he got shot in the back of the head, that was real too.
Yeah, when his actor is dead. Exploded out the back of his head. To be fair, the blood on the ground after he got his head and the guts, the little brain bits, that was real, right?
Yeah. Well, when the ambulance driver is underneath the door and there's stuff dripping on his face, the bear is fake, but the stuff dripping is real.
Yeah.
So they clearly had somebody standing there in like a green suit or a blue suit and just dripping stuff onto his face, because that was real.
Have you seen that paramedic? Have you seen his like Instagram posts where he's like a disgruntled employee kind of?
No.
I recognize him from somewhere.
I'll try and find his name on Instagram, but he's got some really funny like reels or posts or whatever. And then when I found out he was in this movie because he was promoting it a little bit, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna, like, again, kind of harkening back to what we were saying earlier, this is gonna be hilarious.
Yeah, his name is
so
Scott
he was
Seiss.
doing like his own sort of viral marketing kind of thing.
Well, I think he's a stand-up comedian or whatever.
Yeah, so he was posting as though he was an actual paramedic, and like, is that what you mean?
I don't think he posted like any scenes or anything. He just like mentioned like, hey, I'm in this movie, it's coming up soon, kind of thing or whatever. But like his actual content is hilarious, and so I kind of assumed that would carry over to this. And I
have no idea what you mean then. I thought you meant that he was pretending to be a paramedic on Instagram as a disgruntled paramedic to like viral market for the movie, which would be pretty funny.
That would actually be pretty good. I don't think he did that though.
Oh, damn. What a smart thing that they could have did.
Yeah.
But I mean, they spent a lot of money on the marketing, and the movie did well enough. And I mean, with a name like Cocaine Bear, you're gonna get a bunch of weirdos coming to see it, right? Jason,
we can't hear you.
Silent.
Still can't hear you. Not now. Nope, still can't hear you.
Fuck.
Oh, there you are.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. You slap Elizabeth Banks' fucking name on a thing too. You know?
She's only directed 2 other things, and both of them have not been received well, and
Right.
this wasn't really received well either. So.
Right, but like it's one of those things where you're just like, I recognize that name. Let's go see that thing. And also it's about a bear that does cocaine. Wow,
it is kind of disappointing though as well, because she is so funny, right? Like she's such a funny actor, and you think like Wet Hot American Summer. Imagine they had taken the absurdist direction for this movie and just really amped up the cartoonishness and made it that next level. And like you could have a whole, like you were saying, Jason, like each kind of group could have its own tone, like it was its own movie, right? Like the teenagers and the ranger have to team up, and it's
instead of the teenagers being like this weird gang, they're like stoners and they're dealing with it through the lens of a stoner. Maybe they're the horror section, but then there's like the mother and her kids that's more like a more of a grounded, that's more of a thing. The mother looking for the kids, that's more grounded. Then maybe you have like I liked when I saw that there was going to be a cop, there was a little twist with the cop, which I thought was kind of like unnecessary, but I liked
dog thing. I hated that. It was so odd.
Letting them escape or whatever.
With Reba.
Oh, right. Yeah.
When she did the old
double
turn.
Another thing. It's like, if you're going to make a heel turn or double cross, then have the tone of that entire interaction.
Make her look around a bunch.
No. Okay. All right. Well, if you want to go the absurdist route, right. But if you're going, take one or the other, right? Make it absurd and comedic, or make it completely deadpan, hard edge serious, where everybody is taking it seriously, and the concept is what the joke is, right? Like you go see a movie called Cocaine Bear, and it's literally like a horror movie, or it's not just sort of like trying to put its foot in all these different tones. Make it a hard R with just no jokes, and the jokes are shitty 80s one-liners, or people being like, I think the bear's on cocaine.
Well, I think that it was it was a bit of an intersection between something like Snakes on a Plane and like a hard comedy horror like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where there's gore and it's
but that's the thing, is that they're trying to do the intersect.
Movies are like are on a completely all the opposite sides of the scale. Tucker and Dale, fucking hilarious. It's comedy first, horror second. Snakes on a Plane is in the same vein as like Sharknado, just like better made.
Whoa, my glasses. Go ahead, Kaylin.
I was thinking about this afterwards, but I couldn't remember the name. what was that movie with the like a werewolf or whatever, and like there's people like trapped in a winter cab or like a cabin or
Yes,
something like
I
that.
was gonna bring that up. Werewolf Within.
Is that what it was called? I couldn't remember
was-
the name of it.
Felt kind of like that's based on a video
We
game.
talked
That was
about this before, yeah.
That was an Ubisoft movie based on the video game and the card game Werewolves Within. And that tonally felt a lot like this movie as well. But that one is more
Right.
like, that's more of a like The Thing kind of a thing where it's like, who is the werewolf? It's pretty clear who the cocaine bear is in this movie. But I was thinking about that earlier. I like that you brought that up because it's a horror comedy where
Right.
it does lean a lot on the comedy. I would say that's a better movie than this movie, actually.
It was executed better, I would say.
Yeah, even though it was like straight to streaming. And this was a fucking like summer movie, basically, or a spring, like starting off the summer movie season with a cocaine bang.
Yeah, I don't know, man. After COVID, I think that seasonal movies outside of Halloween and Christmas, it's just like whatever, anything can come out whenever it needs to.
Well, the summers, it's been like this since early MCU days, where the summer blockbuster season is just like from May to fucking September now, instead of July to August or June to August.
Yeah,
like when we were kids,
they changed it so that
4 movies, 2 of them were blockbusters.
Seen.
Yeah. When we were kids, there were 4 movies in the summer that you wanted to see: an animated, a fucking movie for adults, and 2 blockbusters. You maybe saw one of them, 2 if you were lucky, or like me, you'd go see a movie like 3 times. Like I saw The Mask that summer 3 times. I saw Mario Brothers twice. You know,
saw Mario Brothers twice.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
The old school one or the new one?
Yeah, I saw the new Mario Brothers when I was a kid twice.
No, that's not what I was asking. There's 2.
No, but
Mario
if you
Brothers.
listen to what his entire point was, then you would know he was talking about the one from the 90s.
The 90s Mario movie, I've talked about this on the show before, but when I was a kid and didn't fucking know, actually the same thing goes for Batman Forever. And I imagine if I was a teenager, I'd fucking love this movie because it's a clearly adult movie. It's like
this has
rated
got
R movie for kids.
This is like this has got
sleepover movie.
This has got cult classic written all over it. It's going to be for a different generation. There's going to be a group of people who watch this at 14
or 15,
and then when they're 30, they're going to be having their own podcast talking about the first time that they saw Cocaine Bear, and there's going to be a whole different appreciation for this movie.
I was wondering if this would have a cult following afterwards or not. Like there's elements to it, there's things in it that I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to do and I like the idea of what you're trying to do, but for some reason you're not hitting the mark. It's not being executed.
Listen, right. Elizabeth Banks is going to make 5 more movies, and she's going to make a couple of like really, really good movies, and then people are going to start to appreciate this movie for other reasons outside of what it is.
I think
that's my prediction.
I think she made some directional stylistic choices for some of the shots. There's this great shot that's just a wide shot of like it's like a meadow kind of, in a tree, and in the far back, you know, there's like a building or something in the back, and like 2 people just come off from the right.
The kids.
Yeah, the kids come off from the right side, and I just thought it was a cool, well composed shot. There was also
there's like a couple of good shots in this movie, but not enough for me to call it stylistic and having a. It's like, you know, you think about like Burton or Raimi or Spielberg, and they all have their own sort of identity on camera, right?
Wes Anderson is a
Wes Anderson is he's that's like the most like, okay, calm down, buddy.
Just as a quick side note, did you see the person on TikTok who was like, Wes Anderson spends his whole career building this unique style, and the marketing for Asteroid City is a lot of people creating their own like their little Wes Anderson moments for it. And the person's like, not only did people like rip this style off for these videos, but some people are doing it better. But how do you like foster and develop this whole style for your whole career, and then just as soon as people have cell phones, they're able to just be like, you know, just
I did see that TikTok completely. And then all I could think was that Wes Anderson probably loves it.
Yeah,
he probably is like, this is amazing, this is great. Also, I don't think that anybody's doing it better than him.
No. There's one video that ended up getting turned into an ad for Asteroid City that was almost perfectly Wes Anderson. You know that he interviews people and he interviews Wes Anderson, but you've probably seen it as an ad. I saw it before it was an ad. And it's very well done in that Wes Anderson style.
Well, Wes Anderson is just Stanley Kubrick if he was a cocaine bear. He did a lot of cocaine. So yeah, no, I think that this movie does, like, I feel like Elizabeth Banks probably has a cinematographer who she allows to do stuff, but like I don't really know how much she has in terms of input on the principal photography. I'd like to know.
Okay.
I'd like to look
Yeah.
more into it, but she hasn't done enough movies that I'm interested in, right? Like she made one of the Pitch Perfect movies, which I have absolutely no interest in watching, and she made
Those are actually pretty fun. Those
They're
are
not
the
bad.
singing ones,
which I have absolutely no interest in watching. And
I'm telling you, they're actually pretty fun.
I will
didn't
repeat
think I was
myself
gonna have
again.
any
I have
interest in it.
absolutely no interest.
I
in
will say
watching
about the
them.
Pitch Perfect movies, they're a lot like the Fast and Furious franchise, where it starts out one way and by the third one, it's like, what the fuck happened here? Kaylin, do you know what I'm talking about? I don't want to spoil anything.
For the
I'm
Pitch
trying to remember.
Perfect
I think I've
movies?
only seen one or two. I can't
Okay, by
remember
the
which ones I saw.
fuck it, I don't care. By the third one, it's like spies and shit.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
The Pitch Perfect movies are?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
gets real crazy.
Well, listen, I have seen a chunk of one of them, and I think it might have even been the second one, but it was like in a hangover Sunday at like someone's house, and there was 12 people, and we're all munching on McDonald's, and I was just like,
Right.
this movie is not for me.
No.
Why am I here?
They're making songs with their voices.
I don't care.
See, I don't know if you know this
Fucking
about
care.
Steve Caleb, but he hates like live musical performances like that, like in live
I don't hate all of
stage
them,
form.
but
I
I do
imagine
hate a lot of them.
I imagine the dubbed over like High School Musical version of it too would probably make you cringe a bit, because I do find the dubbed
I mean, I
over
love the
singing.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a
That's
great
a
movie.
that's different.
Yeah, because it's hot.
Yeah, that's also
but
a fucking
she
movie.
also
God
anyway,
damn.
if I could finish my thought, she also made the Charlie's Angels remake that came out a couple years ago, which I
With
don't know.
like Kristen Stewart or whatever.
I thought people liked that movie.
I don't know. I don't think I know anybody who's seen it.
Did you
to
end
be
up
honest.
watching the Charlie's Angels movie?
Yeah.
Like the
Hi,
new one?
Madison.
Yeah. Of course.
Madison's here. She saw it, and did you like it?
Very good, but I enjoyed.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Elizabeth Banks' household here. I hated Cocaine Bear. She hated Cocaine Bear. She tolerated Charlie's Angels remake.
So what I mean to say is that I don't know enough about her visual identity in terms of filmmaking to be able to say like, oh yeah, she has a presence on screen. Maybe she will one day. It would be great because
that Charlie's Angels movie looked different than this movie. I remember it looks more like a Michael Bay thing, as I recall.
I mean, if you were to
Like
take
gritty.
the right shots of this movie and put them against that movie, they look pretty similar to me.
Okay.
But again, I feel like, you know, I don't know how many chances she can get, but at the same time, she's making money. I'm sure that Pitch Perfect movie made a lot of money. I don't know about the Charlie's Angel movie, but this movie made a lot of money as well.
People love those Pitch Perfects movies.
And I think she's very funny, and I think she has an eye for certain comedic framing. There's only a few moments in this movie that I can say were funny just based on the visual alone. And I know that people will probably disagree with me, but I think that every time they showed the park inspector guy in the tree, like I just thought the framing was kind of funny to me. Like it's boring, but he's just like the way he's like tiny and he's covered in cocaine, and it's just the way it was framed with him just sitting on a log and being terrified. I found that funny, and I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but
I do. That's Jesse Taylor Ferguson from Modern Family, and like when he showed up, I was like, was another one of those, who the fuck? No way. And he does sort of play the same character in everything he does ever. But in this, I think he's I thought there. So he plays a notable gay man on TV. So I thought they brought him in to have this like non-relationship with the clearly much older than him guard or park ranger who's like obsessed
I'm the
with him.
park guard.
I'm the park guard, park ranger. And then I thought he was going to be like, obviously I'm gay, or the one of the goon, the crony with the bleached hair who's sort of gay coded. I thought he was going to be like, obviously he's gay or something. I thought there was going to be a joke there like that, and there was no payoff. He just gets fucking comically mauled in a tree with one of the more gory kills in the movie. So that was it was an interesting way to use a famous actor of the times.
Yeah.
Also, there was a second severed leg in the movie.
Severed leg count.
Yeah, there was that. I was wondering if they were going to keep doing that. You know, like
they didn't.
Is this going to be a thing? But yeah, they didn't. I also think they could have made it more comedic in terms of who the bear attacks, because the bear just kind of seems to have no direction, which, you know, in terms of the logic of the bear being on cocaine, sure, it's just going to attack everybody. But if they leaned more heavily into like maybe the bear is more playful with people when
Who, like,
they're
give
not
him-
covered in cocaine,
Okay.
or who give him cocaine, yeah, like
Yeah.
make it more ridiculous, you know, like when it sees the butterfly and is just like trying to chase it, I was like, okay, that's funny, but like,
Yeah.
they could have a whole moment where the bear is not attacking people, where it just keeps clipping back to the bear just chasing this butterfly for like a really long period of time, and that's how you get all the exposition out. Like people are like, what was that? And then it like cuts to the bear just like chasing the butterfly, and it doesn't even realize they're there, kind of thing, until it gets a whiff of cocaine, and then it starts to go insane.
Which was
I think
good little moment.
it was, but I feel like they could play into it a little bit more comedically. I mean, like that's just something that I also think it's like they probably had a certain amount of screen time they could afford for the bear. So anytime you're not seeing the bear is money saved that they can spend elsewhere or not spend at all, kind of thing. Because again, the budget for this, while not tiny, is not big. Like it's only 35 million, but there's also like a million producers on it, which makes me be like,
Yeah.
how much did these producers get? Yeah.
Probably every cast member on Wet Hot American Summer was a producer on this.
I mean, I was kind of half expecting a couple of them to show up. You know?
Yeah, like even like Michael Showalter, who usually does smaller roles, or even like Michael Ian Black, who usually does smaller roles. Like I wonder if they were.
But imagine like the guy at the beginning. I know the guy at the beginning is a guy. He looks familiar. I'm not sure exactly what he's from.
He's the guy from he's Perry Mason, I think. He's the new Perry Mason.
Perry Mason from
Yeah, you
what?
know, the show Perry Mason. So Perry Mason is a show from like the 60s or 70s, and then they did a remake on HBO recently.
Isn't Perry Mason the guy who owns the Daily Planet?
No, that's J.
In Superman.
That's J. Jonah Jameson. I'm fully kidding.
That's the Daily Bugle.
Yeah. No, Perry Mason is a TV show called Perry Mason, about a gritty detective. It's an HBO show.
This is not what I'm thinking of. So
Perry Mason also, you know the song that goes you ever heard that before?
Come on, Eileen.
Nope.
that's what I thought you were doing too, to be honest.
Let me look up the original Perry Mason. It's a show from
okay,
the
well,
50s.
what else is he in that isn't that? Because that's not what I know him from.
He's in the new Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai cartoon.
Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter what he's in. I know he's like, but imagine Paul Rudd just showed up for just that, and Paul Rudd was the guy throwing all the cocaine out of the plane. Like that would be fun.
Oh, he's
like
on The
just
Americans.
Imagine Paul Rudd, who's the guy throwing all the
Really?
cocaine out of the plane.
Oh, also, right quick, I got to interrupt. Movie title shout out, 40 minutes, 57 seconds.
It took them that long to say Cocaine Bear?
Specifically, Cocaine Bear, yeah. There was
this bear is
cocaine,
on cocaine,
and there was bear.
some sort of
But it's when
cocaine
the
bear.
kid says he didn't know it was a cocaine bear.
Looks right at the camera.
Yeah. Scott Seiss, that's his name.
That's
No,
the
that's the
paramedic
guy from the parent. That's the paramedic. This guy's name is
Oh.
Michael Rice. Michael Rice.
He's not.
He's on The
main
Americans.
page. I haven't watched The Americans. I don't watch TV, man.
The Americans.
The Americans. He's from
He's the
America.
American from Americans.
Is he Captain
Who was your
America?
favorite group to follow? Whose storyline was your favorite storyline to follow?
I'll tell you one of my favorite parts involving that question. I really liked the kids, like the goon kids. How like
The punk team guys?
yeah, they remind me of Bulk and Skull, kind of from Power Rangers.
Right.
But I really like once his two friends die, he has that like, we're gonna go to the city, we're gonna be best
We were
friends
dreaming
forever."
of moving to New York City.
Yeah, and then it
both
shows a still shot of them, and he's like psyched, and they're both dead in the way
Like
that they
dead
died.
or whatever, yeah.
I liked that.
I think I liked the little boy. I thought he was like weirdly kind of funny to me, especially when his voice would crack and he
Yeah.
would do like a very high pitched scream. I thought it was
Yeah.
funny.
And I'm extremely tired.
I'm
the
fucking
end.
tired. Yeah.
And then I also liked Alden Ehrenreich or whatever. I thought that his mopiness was very relatable, but also like the stuff that he would say was pretty funny to me.
He was him and
he has
Ice-
he has one line where they play the song on the radio and he's like, this was Joan's favorite song. Also the tattoo where he was clearly so sad or drunk when he went to get a tattoo that the guy tattooed John on his chest is pretty funny, debatably. And it's too like raw still for him to get it fixed. So he has to wait for like a week. But then the other part where they're in the car and he's like, this was Joan's favorite song. She said that he sings with the voice of a 1,000-year-old man. Like I was lying on the couch and like I heard it and it took me like 2 seconds and then I just started giggling to myself. Like that's pretty funny. Like what does that even mean?
What did you think about the editing of that scene where they had it like they were doing like one shot of each of them going back and forth?
I disliked the fact that they kept jumping around. I don't like it when they just cut to a whole other group of people in a movie to get one little bit
Joke or whatever.
I think there's a way you can do that stylistically.
expositional. Yeah.
I think there's a way you can do that stylistically that they chose not to. And you know what would have been interesting is if the editing in this was a little bit more sort of like hack job, and then anytime where there's meant to be a passage of time where they're all doing something like a montagey thing, they bring that song back from the beginning, the song on the plane, and you just have sort of like almost like a Blow style, like from Blow, where like squares are coming in and you could do stuff like that would like be like, oh, this movie is emulating movies like Blow, where it's like, you know, stuff is meant to be cocaine's cool and so is this movie. And like I think there's a lot of stuff they could have done in this movie where it's like our what went well and what could have been better. There's so much that could have been better in this movie. And like these are things that while I was watching, I'm like, how did they not think to do this? Like, have they not watched movies about cocaine? Like, why didn't they just really fully lean into
that's part of it,
this a cocaine movie?
That's part of it too. Like they could have really leaned into it being more of a parody of movies like Blow and the Johnny Depp one, where it's
but at the end of the movie, it's a movie about family somehow.
It's a family movie.
The fuck?
Yeah,
where it's like the bear has a baby and her mom is saving her babies.
Defeated
Ray
the
Liotta's
evil
a bad
dad. He's a bad dad, and now the dog has a new dad. And
I'm like,
even
did Elizabeth Banks
film
have a baby like just before this movie, and that's why she gravitated towards it?
Maybe
they're gonna make this into
there's
movie about family.
There was some comedy in this movie that really fucking fell on its face, though, at the same time as there being some good stuff. Like a clear when they go into the bar, when Ice Cube's son first goes and meets up with Eddie.
Character name David, real name O'Shea
Jackson Jr. Yeah. They have this like what felt like the only real improv moment in the movie where they're just like, he's like, let me get the what he's having, let me get the penne. And then he's like, right as the scene's ending, he's like, does that penne have chicken or beef or like what's in it? He's like, it's just penne. It wasn't. We made it funny in that moment for this podcast, but in the moment of the movie, I was like, what the fuck? This scene just went on like.
Yeah, that's meant to be a joke. I think the John Joan thing even that, like in my
Kinda.
head, I was like, this is objectively a funny bit, but
Yeah.
it's not making me chuckle.
I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. Unfortunately, he's okay in some stuff, but this is the first like comedy I think I've seen him with like trying to do comedic chops.
yeah, he doesn't have great
he's a bit of a
timing.
nepo. He's a bit of a nepo baby. Like he's a bit of a like my dad's Ice Cubes, and I wanted
He's
to be an actor.
100% a nepo baby, but
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna be a bad actor.
That's what I'm saying though. He's not the best actor. Is the thing. Also, he kind
You
of
ever
has the
seen
same.
Jack Quaid, this era's best actor ever? He's the greatest.
Jack Quaid's amazing. Exactly, and
Yeah.
Colin Hanks even is a good actor.
That's the good Hank's son, right?
That
the
no,
one
Chet
who
Hanks.
is
Chet Hanks
horrible.
is entertaining for a whole other reason. Chet
Yeah.
Hanks thinks he's a black man, and he's very much Tom
Not
Hanks'
that.
son from Tom Hanks and I think A Previous Marriage. Is it Martha or what's her name? Do the thing, Steve.
Oh God, Rita, what's my
Rita.
ex-wife's name?
Rita,
again?
yeah.
I don't remember. Chet. Oh God,
Oh God.
I gotta call my son. I got COVID and he doesn't believe me. Whatever. I don't know. I can't remember what that whole deal was.
He thinks I'm a
Um,
globalist. Also, he thinks he's black.
But I also think that like he wasn't terrible, but yeah, I don't think that his comedic chops were on point. I think, you know, again, most of the comedy for him was that he kept getting horribly injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets his
I think they
fingers
should
blown
have
off.
maybe
He's fucking up his Jordans.
Yeah,
the
it's not
sh-
that he gets injured. It's that all of his like great clothes keep getting destroyed in comedic ways.
but they didn't. So for me, I forgot about the ketchup at the beginning until he steps in the puddle later, and I'm like, oh, he's fucked his shoes up again. But then I'm like, oh, is the joke that his clothes are getting ruined, or that he's getting horribly injured, but he cares more about his clothes? And it wasn't really
Both.
like, I
Kinda.
know, but like it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear
Yeah.
to me. Like I think that if he was getting so upset that his clothes were getting ruined,
Yeah.
rather than his fingers getting blown off, like
So here's what I'll
it's
say
like,
about
that would be funny, but the movie isn't taking its time
it's
to like
not-
build
no.
that joke.
There are too many
or-
characters. It's like this should have been an ensemble cast, also like more ensemble-y, like not just like some semi-known actors. It should have been Wet Hot American Summer cast.
Yeah.
Just before I move on from O'Shea Jackson Jr., he is fantastic playing his own father in Straight Outta Compton. Fantastic. Couldn't have
Yeah,
done a
that's
better job in the world. He was also in, I think, Ingrid Goes West, if I'm not mistaken, which was
he's
a good
also
movie.
he's also in the Obi-Wan television show. He's a Star Wars man.
Right? He's a
What?
star man.
Which I thought he was pretty good in that too. I think that's in terms of like stuff that I've seen him in. Him being in Star Wars feels nice and right. Where I'm like, this guy feels like a Star Wars guy, where he's just like, I live on this planet, I need to do this shit, and that's the end of the. I'm gonna help Obi-Wan. But in Cocaine Bear, where he's meant to be, almost sort of like an audience surrogate, right? Like, unless you're going through something terrible, then you can relate to Alden Ehrenreich, whatever
Eddie.
whatever his name is, Han Solo,
Eddie.
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 But David is meant to be, you know, the every person looking in and being like, oh man, this guy is going through a rough time. How can I help him? And he just doesn't know how, right?
Would you say that he might be the closest analog to a main character? Him and like
This
Keri
movie
Russell,
doesn't
maybe?
really have one, that's the issue. Is
That could be another.
there isn't a main character in this movie. And that's not to say that ensemble movies need to have one, but you do need to have somebody that the audience is caring
Invested in.
about. And I don't think that you really care about anybody in this movie. Like, not maybe the baby bears at the end. I'm like, don't kill the baby bears. They didn't do nothing wrong. They haven't
Everyone
eaten
cares
anybody
about the
yet.
baby bears, except for Ray.
Like even the kids, I'm like, I don't know. I don't care enough about these kids to like I'm like, I assume the daughter's going to be alive at the end because she's leaving the paint behind as a trail, but I don't care enough because I didn't get enough time with the daughter to connect to her. I felt more connected to the kid because the boy, what was his name? Henry. Because I was a little boy who would lie about shit all the time.
It drove me insane that
And I was scared of everything.
These kids fucking take a massive mouthful of cocaine and don't at least at least be like, I feel funny, or my whole fucking face is numb.
Like numb.
I think it must have been a thing. No. If that,
I know.
if here's the thing that
Jason's
that
like, as the resident cocaine
No,
expert.
I don't
I've
think it
never
gets
done
in your
cocaine.
system the same way when you do it that way through the other way.
I've never done it. So the thing is like, if you're gonna have a thing like, I thought what they should have done is teased it. If what I imagine was, you can't have a kid clearly being on cocaine in the movie, no matter what the rating. Like, you're gonna get an NC-17 rating if you have a kid be like, I'm high on cocaine. So what I thought was going to happen in that moment was them tease it, and then the bear was going to show up and then start reaping havoc
Before they could do it. Yeah.
But the fact that they shoveled cocaine in their mouth, even if they spit it out right away, I've heard my friends say that like it numbs your face. And also in the movie, what the fuck is the movie called with Johnny Depp?
Blow. You said it earlier.
Yeah,
that is Blow.
Yeah.
What's the trafficking? Is it that Traffic?
Traffic.
Is that movie called Traffic? Okay.
Yeah.
I was getting Traffic and Blow mixed up, and I thought Blow had some different name.
I mean, he does say my throat feels like it's dripping, which is like a
Yeah,
thing.
they get the drip. Yeah, it's running. Yeah.
But that's like,
Kaylin, stop using street lingo, please. This episode's gonna get banned from YouTube.
Postnasal drip is a thing where if you take an antihistamine up the nose, you get postnasal drip, where most of it's just going down the back of your throat.
Yeah.
My friends who have done cocaine have told me that when you snort that whatever isn't used up will go back to the back of your throat and down. But the thing is like, that's only if you snort it. Why was this kid getting
because he was an idiot. He thought that he knew how to do it, right? So they ate it, but they didn't actually eat it. They just put it in their mouths, and they were probably, and like they did. And yes, I completely agree. If these kids were just jazzed on cocaine, that would be very funny.
Hilarious.
If, like, well, every
Missed
time they meet the kids, they're just like wired. Like, I'm so glad you're here. That also might just be a testament to the acting ability of the children. Like, maybe they were giving them that direction and it just wasn't reading to us. But do something to make their eyes all fucked up, or like make them look like they're sweaty, or
I think that it was a studio thing where they were like, we can't have
sure.
kids on cocaine. We can't. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to use your imagination for this.
But then, like you said, why not just not have them do
Change it?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, make it so the bear knocks the package out of their hand before.
Yes.
So I mean, because that got me excited, right? Like 2 10-year-olds jacked up on cocaine would be funny. And
he does coke with his buddy Falk after
church.
Every
No, I've done it tons of times. Yeah. So
I wrote
how do you do
down,
it? You eat it. How much?
Like a tablespoon. And I'm going, don't eat a tablespoon of cocaine. You're gonna die.
Yeah. Luckily, they spit it all out.
I wrote down, this is proof that drug awareness assemblies are bad. Because if they didn't have the drug awareness assembly, then they wouldn't know what a brick of yay looks like, and then they wouldn't have even bothered with the brick in the woods.
I also thought it was funny that when she's like, yeah, remember they brought the officer in to teach us all about it. This is exactly what it looked like. And he's like, oh yeah, the guy with no arms and no legs.
Yeah.
No, not that guy. A different guy. And then she just cuts the thing all the way open. Like, she doesn't do it like in like a genteel way in like the drug movies, where they just poke it in and pull a little bit of like do it up off the knife. She just like cuts it all the way open and shovels it out. Like, that stuff is visually funny, but again, the movie it's so tonally all over the place, where the bear is coming. So it's like, you're meant to be scared, but also she's cutting the package open and shoveling it on the knife, which would be a funny beat on its own if the music was supporting it, or if there was dialogue supporting it. The movie is very messy, I think, is what I would say. Is like it's trying to do all these things, but they're competing with each other in almost every single scene.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So I just looked up who wrote this movie, and it's the only other thing it looks like he wrote is The Babysitter. The horror
Not like
movie.
a bunch of other movies about cocaine.
No,
obviously. I feel like this guy has never done cocaine.
Oh man, The Babysitter with Jonah Hill. That movie, I think I saw that and it was weird.
It's not the movie I'm talking about, and he didn't even write it. He was in the Babysitter is the horror movie about the babysitter who has all her friends over
The
and
Netflix
then kills
movie?
them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
But he did write the sequel, Killer Queen, which came out a couple of years ago during the
I'm
pandemic.
pretty sure that one was good.
Well,
I think The Babysitter was all right too, if I recall. Like it wasn't terrible.
I remember
It was
them
like
being
a fine.
fine.
Yeah.
So,
But I also
Samara
remember
Weaving.
nothing about it, which means it probably wasn't that great.
Jenna Ortega's in the second one. I don't know if she's in the first. They couldn't even get Ken Marino for this fucking movie. Ken Marino's in everything.
Is that the guy who says the Bears?
No, that's Dan Marino, and that's not even Dan Marino. Dan Marino played on like the Dolphins.
Imagine they got that guy to be in it and he gets killed by a bear.
No, Ken Marino's the guy from like Wet Hot American Summer and Party Down and
I mean, when you say they couldn't even get, maybe they just didn't.
They didn't
ask.
try.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
the
feel like-
woman who plays the park ranger is from 90s sitcoms and 2000s, early 2000s sitcoms.
Well, I saw a sort of like a web of connection, like of how all these actors are connected, and they all worked with each other in some capacity within the last like 5 years.
Okay.
So it was almost like they were probably all working on different things and started talking about like, well, we're gonna make this Cocaine Bear movie, and they probably just started being like, yeah, we'll pay you like $200,000, and then we'll
Pay
give you
scale.
like point. We'll give you 0.5% on the back end. So when the movie comes out, if it makes a lot of movie, you'll make money. You'll make like $1 million. And it was probably just something like that, where they're like, it's what we would like to call in the business, fucking cash grab.
Cash grab.
Cash grab.
Hit the soundboard, the sound bite.
Cash grab.
Oh yeah, for everybody that loved our soundboard last week, our soundboard shenanigans, soundboards will return next week.
Cash
Look,
grab.
it's gonna be a cash grab. In fact, I'm gonna get a cash
Any other
grab.
technical issues aside.
I'm gonna get it. There was no technical issues this week, Kayla.
Well, the internet or whatever moving and stuff, and wires being broken. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a cash grab.
I mean, if we were to call Jason's situation right now a technical issue, then every single week we have a technical issue with you, Kaylin, filming on your fucking phone.
Yeah,
Right.
you do film from your phone, and it's just somehow that's a testament to the iPhone. I gotta say. Your
It's got a
aspect,
good microphone on
Right?
it.
your aspect ratio is a little fucked. You're in 4:3, but
Yeah, I noticed that when you post the final copy on YouTube or whatever, you guys are like widescreen or whatever, and then I'm like full screen, which I don't know why. My phone turned sideways.
I'm sure there's a setting. We'll talk about it in the post media scrum.
There is like a huge part of me though that wishes this movie just went full absurdist or full serious, like right down the middle.
Right there with you.
Isn't
I wish it would have either
Not
been
great.
I wish it would have either been a 100% serious horror
Like
movie
think about the most
with like a bunch of teens, like a parody of Friday the 13th, but like serious, or go the other way with it and have it just be like Harold and Kumar, ridiculous.
I would say think of the most ridiculous thing in Wet Hot American Summer, which is like the can of beans sucking its own dick or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like something like the first Nightmare on Elm
I think he
Street.
bangs a fridge actually, but yeah.
Well, he says like, I used to be able to suck my own dick and I did it a lot, I think is like an actual line from that movie. Or he says I can suck my own dick and I do it a lot. But the way he became a can of peas, if you like watch the TV show, he fell into like a puddle full of nuclear waste.
Yeah.
Like just like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But you go the other direction, and it's the perspective of the teenagers from Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Where they're so serious about what's going on. Like those are the two options that you should go with. And they tried to do the center, and it just didn't work, man.
Well, the movie
Doesn't work.
plays a lot like a streaming service movie. It just somehow got wide release.
It's because it was called Cocaine Bear, and it was directed by a prominent director who had only theatrical releases that did well, and the cast was stacked enough. Lord and Miller were producers.
Movies going into 2023 were kind of scarce. The last couple of years have been post-COVID have been kind of
I think this
let's
was
put
also...
anything in the theaters we can, guys. Remember that year
was...
where the only movie was Top Gun Maverick? We need to put whatever we can in those theaters.
Yeah.
We gotta get butts.
Do you
and
think
seats.
they use like cheap equipment or something, like cameras or whatever, or lenses or whatever, or like?
For what reason would you say this?
Like I just went watching it. It felt, or maybe it's just the what's the word I'm looking for? Like it felt kind of indie. Like it felt like someone's first movie, kind of.
I believe it was technically indie. I think they had to scrounge money from smaller sources, and then once they got the movie up and running, they were able to get Universal to distribute, which technically qualifies it as an indie movie.
Gotcha.
But that being said, a $35 million indie movie is like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? That's still
I don't think they
that's a
showed
lot.
this at Cannes or Sundance.
No, they did. They showed it at Sundance, and everybody said, "Get out! What are you doing here?" Robert Redford had a heart attack.
Robert Redford died, actually. He went to see this movie, thought it was going to be a high concept avant-garde romance movie.
Yeah, he was
That
like,
cocaine bear is a
French?
metaphor
Yeah.
for something in France. I don't know. I thought it was
Yeah,
going to
he
be.
thought it was a
booze,
French
cocaine to-
movie.
You guys ever drink wine with ice?
If it's
Oh.
hot outside, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I don't personally, but my wife likes a spritzer, which is like wine and put a little wine, put a little vodka, put a little
Juice?
little juice. I guess that's completely different than just putting ice in your
White
white
wine
wine.
spritzer. That's
I have that
I'm like-
record.
Paul Rudd showing up on the motorcycle and crashing it.
Whatever.
What's riding it or whatever?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I
when he's
imagine
cleaning
like
up,
that's like, again,
ugh.
I know the guy at the beginning is a guy, but like imagine Paul Rudd just showed up for like 2 seconds that day just to be the guy dancing and throwing all the cocaine.
Doing
That
karate
scene
and
probably
shit?
took an hour to shoot. So like, yeah, it could have been somebody from Wet Hot American Summer just to get everybody psyched.
And you know they're friends still. They
That might have
course.
disappointed me more though. If they had something awesome like that and I was psyched, and then the rest of the movie was still what it is, it would have made me feel even worse.
That opening scene is quite good in terms of like getting you excited for what you're about to watch. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I like this. This is like some DB Cooper shit. Like,
Yeah, it was very much DB Cooper.
if you don't know who DB Cooper is,
I do.
Go watch Without a Paddle.
What is he in that movie?
They try to find his treasure.
That's
in it.
the whole.
Is that the whole
conceit.
plot of the movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're going
trying
into
to
the
find his
woods to find
cash.
his cash. His
Yeah.
cash grab.
Keri-
Yeah, he was the guy who hijacked a plane and then jumped out of the plane mid-flight with like $250,000 or whatever, and he was never found.
Some
again.
comically low amount of money for now, but at the time was a huge heist.
Yeah, there's the movie that Windfall that came out during COVID as well with Jason Segel and I think it's two other actors who are well known, but my brain is now swapping their faces with other actors. Like it's not Matt Damon and it's not what's her name from Community.
It's
but-
Jason Segel.
Well, I said
Matt
Jason
Dillon.
Segel. That was the
Oh.
one I knew.
Jesse Plemons is in it.
Yes, and then the other actor is.
The other actor is.
It's only 3 actors.
Anna de Armas is in. Sorry, Lily Collins is in it. Those are 2 people I get fucking mixed up.
Yeah. But the movie is basically about him going to a billionaire's house and waiting there or trying to rob them, and then they arrive and he holds them hostage in their house for
Wow.
a small amount of money.
There's only
and-
4 people in the movie.
Well, it was a COVID movie.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
one was supposed to be kind of like a thriller or something like that, right?
Yeah, but it's also comedic and a little bit horrific as well.
I think I saw it.
It's good. I brought it up for a specific reason, which I now forget. So anyway, the movie Cocaine Bear. What do we get? Like,
I have a segment I'd like to call. Okay, so if we go through our like segments, like I don't really have the Home Alone of it all is like him hitting his head on the plane and falling to the ground. It's like the movie
Yeah,
just
that's how it starts. Yeah.
Yeah, you just as soon as
It's
soon
their
as they
first Home
start
Alone of it all
showing-
happening within the first 30 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, like as soon as they're showing those clips of like the real news stories at the beginning of the movie, like that's the whole, like it just begins. And then like we were
Tom
saying,
Brokaw being like, a man was found in a backyard of a home. He
yeah,
was on
like
cocaine, and he had
real story is
$32 million.
a dude fell out
worth
of a
cocaine.
plane as he was trying to unload the cocaine, and a bear ate the cocaine, and they found the dead bear. And I don't think it even had any. I don't think the bear even really rampaged. I think it
Football
probably.
size bricks.
But I
of,
think all those like sort of PSA
Hmm.
style clips were, you know, a nice touch to be like,
Yeah.
remember the 80s when
This is your
cocaine was
brain.
running rampant in the streets and
This is your
everybody
brain
was
on drugs.
Yeah.
Any
I
question?
remember like there was that other one that we got when we were in the 90s,
with the wires.
and it was like a remake where they would like clip the wires. Yeah, like
Yes.
and
It was like a
just
brain of all
fried.
kinds of
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we
I
also had
remember.
this is your brain on drugs, but it was a different version. It was like a woman, and then she like goes nuts and like destroys her whole apartment with a frying pan, like with the eggs in it. She's like, ah! It's like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I remember that there was like
And that's
alcohol
why I've never done
PSAs.
drugs.
That's why I've never done drugs either. The "This Is Your Brain on Drugs" video got to me, and I never touched a single drug ever in my life to this day.
Except cocaine.
I saw I was watching Whiskey Ginger, which is Andrew Santino's podcast, and he had Joel McHale on. And at the beginning, they're talking about cocaine. They're both like, they both say they've never done it. I do not believe for a second that neither of those dudes have never done cocaine. And if they
I
had-
believe that they were on cocaine while they said that.
like Andrew Santino's podcast is called Whiskey Ginger, and it's about, you know, they have a drink and they talk, they shoot the shit. And
I mean, you never
Joel
know. Some people
McHale's
just
been in showbiz since. That's true. Maybe
You know who surprised me? John Mulaney.
that didn't surprise me.
No, not me,
because
not
he
at
was
all.
he's always been very open about his problems.
and he was like, he looked like he
He's
was on
always like,
cocaine all the
"Hey."
time. Yeah.
Actually, for me, it was like, I would never have thought he was on it. Like I thought he was just a very animated comedian. But once he talked about one of his first times in rehab years ago, I was like, oh yeah, that tracks. And then in this new stand-up from this year where he goes through all of it, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, a lot of that really lines up in an amazing way. And that's a fucking fan. That's less a stand-up and more of a, in wrestling we call it a shoot interview, where a wrestler goes in and has an interview with an interviewer and just breaks kayfabe, just tells all the behind the scenes shit about wrestling. And that John Mulaney special is very much that to me. Like a comedian just, this is what my life was like for the last couple of years, up to including and after the last time I went to rehab and actually got clean. And the thing about it is he's, you know, who knows if he kept that clean. Hollywood people like to go to rehab and then just
I think
immediately-
he's supposedly doing pretty well, but also, you know, it's none of our
our
fucking
business.
business, guys.
Exactly.
Let's not talk about this shit. I hate it so much. He's going through his own struggles. What do we need to talk about his problems for?
That's true, Steve. I agree with you, but I will say that stand-up special is particularly good because it feels less like stand-up and more like you're reading a autobiography.
I just remember when he was like, and then I was at a party and I drank an entire flask of perfume. And he like drinks the whole, I drank it all. And I said, fuck you, officer. Or whatever. That's my John Mulaney impression.
That's a pretty good John Mulaney.
Thank you.
You're a bit of an impressionist, Steve.
Just a tad.
Sorry. The reason I brought that up was I don't have any the segments we normally do. I don't have any real theory corner stuff. Was more so about how this movie got made. I got
a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I mean, we could just actually say how it got made. I did a little bit of research, but if you want to give your theories first.
My theory was just that there was this script that was lying around and they needed fresh ideas. And there's also this new trend. I feel like this movie falls into the trend of the movies like Air, Tetris, Blackberry. I feel like it's one of those kind of movies where it's like this thing that everybody's kind of aware of.
They're like, we already made all of the movies we can
All the
make about
products.
the presidents and the famous serial killers and anybody who made a difference in the civil rights movements, whether it be Black, Asian, gay, or ladies. So we really got to come up with some ideas here. We're gonna do Tetris and flaming hot Cheetos.
Yeah. What about a Florida man? No, we'll make a TV show about that with relative unknowns. How about this?
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear, and everybody just rips giant lines, and then they write this script.
It was
Sorry.
kind of funny when the bear snorted the coke off of the severed leg.
Yes, that kind of stuff. Those visual gags I liked. A lot of the stuff with the bear. I'll get into it in the what went well even better bit. Before Steve, you tell us how this movie actually got made. Kaylin, you had a conspiracy theory that I'm actually curious about now.
Weed was illegal for a long time,
Right.
and it kind of felt like it was planted in movies to kind of slowly kind of desensitize or whatever it, right?
Okay.
And lately it seems like cocaine has been coming up a lot in movies, and so I have a feeling that down the road the same sort of thing's going to happen with cocaine.
I don't think cocaine will. I don't think you'll ever be able to go to a cocaine dispensary, but I think cocaine will be medically prescribed to people or available.
Here's your prescription dollar bill. Just roll it up. And...
you just get a plastic special plastic tube. I will say that Toronto now has magic mushroom dispensaries, so we're moving forward here.
Cocaine's a little different.
Cocaine's a lot different. In fact, cocaine will stop your heart if you do too many.
If you do too many.
Cocaine will make you have the best time of your life that will turn into the worst time of your life. And that worst time of your life will be your death.
It also is one of those things that on the street, it is so very dangerous.
Yes.
Whereas mushrooms and weed, relatively not dangerous. If you buy shitty weed or buy shitty mushrooms, you're not going to die. But if you buy bad cocaine, you can
get
die.
fentanyl and die.
Yeah.
And the thing is that cocaine's not as bad for you as they taught us it was as kids. It's street shit that's bad. If you could look at all the rock stars that have existed through history, they were all getting the big stars like Ozzy and the Rolling Stones. They were getting their cocaine from literal doctors, and that clean shit, well, it's still horrible for you, right? It's manageably.
It's
fine. Clean. It's not cleaner. It's clean. It doesn't have any fucking filler. Doesn't have any additives. Doesn't have any fentanyl. How'd this movie get made, Steve? What's the poop?
In the year 1985, drug smuggler and smuggler.
Go for the smuggler.
Get him in the smuggler.
I'll allow it.
Anyway, no, it was the writer. He was going through a bunch of the old, we were talking about, McDonald's has a movie, the Flaming Hot Cheeto has a movie, Tetris has a movie. It was very much a case of that, where he's like, what are stories that we can turn into something? And this was something that he remembered and was able to write a screenplay, and he did, and it was purchased, and it floated around basically based on the name alone, very much like Snakes on a Plane, right? And I think the difference between this and Snakes on a Plane is that Snakes on a Plane was almost completely backed by Sam Jackson's star power. Yeah. And they even wanted to change the name of the movie because they thought it was too hokey and no one would want to go see it.
On a snake.
And no, Sam Jackson was like, if you change the name of the movie, I'm not going to be in it, and I will void my contract, and I'll pay you whatever I need to pay, however many millions of dollars it will be. I will void my contract, and you won't get to release the movie with my face in it. So they were like, all right, I guess we got to call it Snakes on a Plane. And Cocaine Bear was a similar deal, where it's like, this name alone is enough to get people in the seats. But if you can fuel it with star power, they can do it. So coming off of COVID, like we said before, there wasn't a lot coming out in terms of just junk that people will consume. And it's literally a junk food movie. They did it specific. It's a cash grab. It's a fucking cash grab.
Grab. I really hope they make more of these headlines movies, because I really want to see a mouse riding a cat riding a dog the movie.
Did you guys feel bad that it was dedicated to Ray Liotta?
No,
I don't think so. I think
mean, it
that
was
he was in the movie, and why
it was
wouldn't they?
one of his last movies.
But you guys are talking about how bad the movie is. It's like,
But it doesn't mean you can't listen. They probably
was
had a lot of
good in it.
fun. Yeah, they probably had a
Yeah.
lot of fun making the movie. Like, I don't think Ray Liotta was like dying and being like, oh shit, my last movie's gonna be Cocaine Bear.
right?
Like,
Or he was dying and being like, yes, Cocaine Bear is my final movie.
give me some cocaine and let me watch this shit.
I think he might have a movie after this. It's possible.
I think there's a movie coming out this year that he's in, actually.
Yeah. And he did a lot of shit in the last
Oh, he
few
was
years,
also in
too.
that movie with Charlie Day,
Yeah, he's in
which came out a couple months ago.
which unfortunately apparently is bad. I haven't seen it, but
I mean, I haven't seen it either, so but it looks weird, which I know, but when people say things are bad, sometimes they're not bad.
Yeah.
And it's just because a bunch of people went to go see it because they love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and then they went to go see something that was nothing like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
his last movie was Fool's Paradise, the Charlie Day movie.
I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it, but I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks like an interesting concept for a weird comedy, which I could definitely see people going and seeing it and being like, they didn't say things that I wanted them to say in it, which is kind of like fair. This movie where people are like, I thought it was going to be like Anchorman, Kaylin. Why did you think that Cocaine Bear was going to be like Anchorman? I want you to explain that to me, Kaylin. Did you think the Cocaine Bear was going to be like...
Because it's the silliest
Milk
thing
was
I've
a bad choice.
Yeah, milk was a bad choice. Yeah.
Cocaine was a bad choice.
Yeah.
Fuck
the Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Did you guys notice the ranger lady called the boy a girl? He's like, hey, little girl, get out of that tree.
I'm a boy.
I'm a boy.
I think that kid was funny, man. He was he had a funny face. Like his scared face was funny. His inquisitive face was funny. He was like he had a funny energy to him.
Yeah.
He's gonna
but
be
also he's the only one with a very
video later that's gonna be like, you won't believe which A-list actor was in the movie Cocaine Bear 10 years ago.
It was him. Also, he did so much cocaine for real on the set of Cocaine Bear.
We're calling him the modern day Drew Barrymore because of how many amphetamines he was on actually during that movie.
Yeah. His name is Barry Drew.
Yeah.
I think that shit. Kaylin, what was your question? I was gonna answer it.
I just asked if you guys heard if you noticed the ranger lady call him a girl.
Oh, right.
Yeah. What you did.
I think that most of it. Yeah, we did. No, I had like another thing that I was going to say and I got thrown off. But anyway, it's fine. I can't remember what it is.
His faces. He was animated. You enjoyed his acting.
Oh, he's super Southern for some reason, and nobody else seems to really have a Southern accent except
Keri
for him.
Russell does. Actually, the daughter does too. Because they're in Chattahoochee, which
but
is.
Why is he so like? Come on, Matt. Like he's like Huckle.
He's got a little more twang to his
Yeah.
voice or whatever. Yeah.
Well, Keri Russell's character is very much like, we're from Tennessee, and then the daughter comes and goes because she's not doing it very good.
Also, Elizabeth Bank, I believe, is from Tennessee or Massachusetts.
Massachusetts and Tennessee are in very different places.
Well, I don't know which one is correct then. Let's just
Massachusetts is on the northeast coast. Tennessee is
Boston, Massachusetts.
I know, but I heard Tennessee and I was like, I think I heard her say that in an interview once, and now I don't know. So let me just look.
I like that they were in Chattahoochee, which is best known for that Alan Jackson song that goes way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
It's a fun word to say.
Chattahoochee.
So did you guys have like a favorite overall character?
I would have to say it was probably Eddie for me.
Same. Or I mean, yeah. I kind of like the gay coded
the punk teen.
The punk
teen
that
was
was
good.
that he ended up being my favorite when he joined the two criminal guys, David and Eddie. The three of them together was great. And
Yeah,
all of his lines, all of his bits, all of his reactions, his mannerisms and everything.
He just has like an exit stage left situation where he's just like,
he
fuck
never
this,
comes
I'm
back.
out of here, and he
Yeah.
never shows back up. He just runs into the woods and he's never to be seen again. So he just immediately survives about 3/4 of the way through the movie. And them playing 21 Questions as a little like
21 questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
21 questions.
Isn't it just 20 questions?
Are you Abraham Lincoln?
You have to do broad and then narrow it down.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 20 questions.
That
You're
was
right.
also like a weird thing where they like, it turned out to be like a nice sort of romantic thing at the end. But
They
like,
didn't set it up properly, I don't think.
I mean, it was set up fine. Like the reveal is like, oh, he knew the answer the whole time. And the reason he was just guessing things is because he didn't want to guess the right answer to make him cry.
I kind of thought that was a lie. I kind of thought Eddie was just agreeing with them because he was
well,
like,
see, that's what I mean is like, I don't think that they set it up poorly. I think they set it up poorly for the reveal, right? Like,
right.
There should have been more to indicate that maybe he knew. Right.
Yeah.
Like maybe it should have shown him say a couple of other questions that would have indicated to us that he knew the answer.
You're right. Yeah.
Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee.
But we also knew nothing about his wife. So it's like anything he did ask, we'd be like, I don't know what that means.
Is she dead or estranged? I can't remember.
Yeah. Is the thing the mother of your child? Yes. Is it Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah. Is she dead? No, but I'm asking you guys, not in the joke.
Like dead or alive could be.
I can't remember if she was dead or if
she died. Yeah,
she died. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he.
Right, I wouldn't get a tattoo of somebody of Madison if she left me, or maybe I would.
But also, they say several times that she died.
Who knows what would happen if Madison?
There's a whole part where he's like, I think sometimes my dad might have killed her, and he's like, she got cancer, and he's like, yeah, but maybe he gave her the cancer.
Look, Steve, when you condense all the best jokes and say them with your very personable and very charismatic way that you do, this is how you always move the needle for me on movies. This is how you do it, because you find the best parts and you illuminate them in a way that it's undeniable. But I'm sticking.
Like
I'm sticking to my rating this time.
When stuff rises to the surface, like you have to push that stuff out of the way to see the shit at the bottom, or you can just look at the stuff that sits on top, right? The stuff you're gonna like and remember. Like, why would you?
My what went well sequence. I was gonna ask you guys what your favorite part of the movie is, but then I just blow my whole fucking speech. You know what?
Let's. You know what? I think we're almost trying to wrap it up. This is supposed to be a short episode anyway, right? Because you guys have constraints.
A little bit. I mean,
data or whatever.
I have the data thing. It's not a big deal, but I don't think that this movie lends itself to discussion the way that.
Well, I have a few more things I'd like to talk. I was kind of like holding back.
Yeah. We're at, we have 40 minutes or so. I don't really have much.
One thing that really kind of like irked me in a way that I was like, what the fuck movie, is that, they set up Ray Liotta. They set him up as like a grandfather who's like, fuck, I don't want to take care of this kid. And, like that whole scene could have been funny, right? It wasn't funny at all. They have Ray Liotta. They have, what's his name? Sorry, I can't remember.
O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Yeah. They're in like a Chuck E. Cheese or like a McDonald's style restaurant.
It's like not even. It's a fucking like mall arcade.
Well, it might be like a strip mall or something, because I thought I noticed a movie theater in one background. I saw the ball pit in another background. There's like a little restaurant, so I couldn't tell if it was like a Chuck E. Cheese or like a little strip mall or something. Or I
didn't mean to say that they're in a Chuck E. Cheese or a McDonald's. I just mean to say that the restaurant they're in has a ball pit in it. Okay. And the kid is in there and he's like, oh, look at me, or whatever. And like he's just jumping in the ball pit.
Sorry, can you do that? Can you do that voice again?
Oh, look at me, I'm drunk.
He's part of the Lollipop Guild, is he?
Yes. He says, I represent the Lollipop Guild.
Oh shit! Is that if Tom Hanks was a fucking Oompa Loompa?
Oh yeah, Rita, you jump next.
Flip that.
But none of it is funny. None of it is intense. Like there's a moment where Ray Liotta is like pounds the table to try and get David to silence himself so that he can like make his point. And it's like it's like a limp wrist hand slam that makes no noise. Don't even like make the sound louder in post to make it scarier. Like even if he like hits it and the sound is loud to startle us, we would be, oh shit, Ray Liotta. But They don't. So they had the opportunity to make it funny or intense. And again, it's one of these moments where the two things are competing. Like he steps in the ketchup and he's wiping it off. But like we get it. And like you get an ADR line where he's like, shit, I just bought these. And you're like, okay, but it'd be funnier if he didn't just buy those and he just was able to keep them clean for that long. And this is the start of his like journey of getting dirty, right? Like where like everything beyond that is just like fucking his clothes up. It's like they didn't go for the setup payoffs. They just went for like scenes and then remembered later when they were filming something. They're like, oh, remember when you stepped in the ketchup earlier? What if we make your shirt get dirty now? And then you're mad about your shirt getting dirty, and then you step in a puddle and your shoe gets dirty. And it like, and then you cut to later when the detective gets shot from somebody off screen, but before that you've got a trunk opening with a hand grabbing the rifle out, right? You don't know who it is, and then he gets shot, and then he falls over and the rifle comes up, and it just is like this full-on frame of Ray Liotta who is just shot. And I'm like, what? Why not just like let that play out for like a couple more scenes for a while and then have him show up, right? Am I wrong? Do you guys not agree?
No, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
When you talk, I wasn't sure if it was okay. Maybe
well, like he opens the trunk and then we're like, oh, there's somebody coming to the woods with a rifle. For all we know, it could be somebody hired. He hired another person because he didn't trust David, or he didn't trust his son. So he's like, I need you to get the job done. Or it's the Colombians. The Colombians have hired somebody else.
That would have been a nice. You know what? Thinking about that, if this movie had a broader scope, they could have had a group of Colombian gangster people come in and just get fucking mauled,
destroyed. Yeah, like a Predator scene where like the movie Prey, where all the French Canadian fur trappers get like absolutely decimated by the Predator. Like imagine they did that with the cocaine bear.
And
they're like shooting it. It's like getting shot, like just getting hit by bullets, and it's just
because
still, like,
the bear gets shot. The bear gets shot at one point, dies, gets a whiff of cocaine, and then spits the bullet
comes
out.
back to life.
It comes back to life and spits the bullet out, which I thought was. I laughed out loud at that. I was like, "That's pretty fucking funny."
It's like a Terminator thing, or like like some crazy, like again, absurdist, right? Like we could have gone full cartoon mode.
Full absurd, full absurdity. That's what I wanted. That's what I meant earlier about I thought it was going to be a silly, stupid Anchorman.
I got what you meant, Kaylin, about wanting an Anchorman, because I wanted a Harold and Kumar movie. And
I wanted a Wet Hot American Summer.
You wanted, which all three of those movies are kind of in the same sort of.
They're very absurd, yeah.
Yeah.
Like remember at the end of Anchorman when the dog shows up and talks to the bear in the zoo? It's just all subtitles.
Man, imagine if that bear was this bear.
Whoa! State
of confusion. I forget how the beat goes.
But yeah, I don't know, man. There's so many moments in this movie where I don't think I can even have a what could have been better moment that I can like say singularly. No, it's just like the whole movie could have been better. I think that all of the actors did what they could, right? Like I think that the park ranger was playing her role like perfectly. I think she knew what movie she was in, and like I thought it was so funny that every time she shoots her gun, she closes her eyes first. Like every single time, she's like, and she's aiming, and then she's like, it's the reason she shot that guy in the back of the head. It's because she just didn't keep her eyes fucking open.
She that was a good kind of almost commentary about like gun safety, because she almost kills she's almost as much of a menace.
There is like one line where she's walking out, she's like, yeah, we're park rangers, we're peacekeepers, which means we're allowed to shoot people.
Yeah.
She says that at the beginning of the movie.
That's like Peacemaker, the superhero who fucking keeps the peace by killing everybody indiscriminately.
Yeah,
I mean that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
She was also a pretty good character, man. I think that she kind of, I was also at the very end when they're walking by the ambulance and everyone's dead, I was kind of hoping that she would still be alive, like strapped, being like, stop, with her head all like fucked up.
And then there's like a scene like maybe during the credits, because they did have a couple like little moments during the credits that they're having like a reunion of the survivors, and she's like Two-Face. That would have been funny. That would have been fucking
Yeah.
good foresight.
Or it's because it was like mostly just like the top of one side. She just has like a weird metal like plate.
She looks
Oh,
like
Kano from
she looks
Mortal
like
Kombat.
Kano.
yeah, like
from
Kano from
Mortal
Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
Like she even has like a red eye, like a red laser eye. We should have wrote Cocaine Bear.
Oh, that would be funny.
Let's
And
make
then-
a movie.
And then Christoph, he die?
Who?
The guy, the hiker, the guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No,
No.
they find him.
They find him.
And he
they
runs
find him
away.
later.
But then there's like this weird moment where later in the movie, like a little bit later, they say like, "Remember what the bear did to that hiker?" And it cuts
Yeah.
back to like a corpse, and they tripped on a corpse. And I was like, "Is that supposed to be him?"
Oh, I think actually, you know what? I think you're right. So yeah, because they meet up with him later to like go to the cave or like go to the cave or
That
something.
seems
but
like
then they did like
a-
a flashback when they
No, I
get to
thought
the
they
cave.
tripped over her, like his wife or whatever.
What? No,
I don't know.
no. This is they were there. It was what it seemed like to me was that there was like a deleted scene, or like a
No,
lot
they
of this-
showed it. They did a flashback. They did. It was
I know,
really
but a flashback versus like them tripping on the
You know what
The
flashbacks
corpse.
are?
like they didn't need to have
deleted
that, right?
scenes.
You know what flashbacks are?
Deleted scenes.
They're a
Cash
cash grab.
It's a cash grab.
Sorry. Flashback, the way that Steve kind of said it at the cadence sounded like cash grab, so I wanted to interject.
It's a flashback.
It's a flashback.
So but there are moments where it seems like they filmed a lot of extra stuff, right? Like this movie probably has a lot of cutting room floor business going on.
Yeah, the
Where they-
runtime was 92 minutes, but this felt like a lot like it could have easily been
But then there's also so much walking.
85 to 100 minutes. Yeah, you're right.
Like a lot of forest walking, you know, where you're like, oh my God.
You're right. I'm glad this movie, when I saw 92 minutes, I was like, thank God. Thank
Mhm.
God. Because there's no, I would have hated this movie. I don't hate this movie. I don't like this movie. It has its moments. But if this movie was 2 hours long of just all more of this, man. But you know, cinema needs 90-minute movies that are one small story or like three. Like this, I almost feel like instead, like I said at the beginning of the show, like instead of interjecting each other's stories and weaving a story out of clearly just three separate stories, just have three separate stories that just have a climax and ending where the survivors end up together.
You know what would have been so fucking good, great, is if like the mom and the Henry get to the cave and they find her and she's there and she's just like injured or whatever, covered in, they think it's blood, but it's just paint because she's been like squirting the paint everywhere. And then like while that's happening, they also are cutting to the drug dealers also going into a cave and the other people also going into a cave. And it's like all three of them seem like they're going into like the same cave and you're expecting them to meet up. And then like they don't, and they're all in separate caves. And then like the mom and the kids get away. And like, as they're like running away, you hear like, whatever. And like one of them's like, ah, and gets killed by the bear. And then the other one is just like, what? And he like hears it and then he looks down and then there's just all the little bears and the little bears just like kill him like aliens, like, you know, like in Jurassic Park, Lost World, where
Lost
the guy's
World,
like got all
yeah.
the, he gets killed by all the bears, and then just the mom and the kids just get away while everybody else just gets murdered. And I know, like, you know, like Alden, Han Solo, Ice Cube's son, like all of them like have their stories going on, but I would have loved like a weird sort of like, you think they're gonna meet up, but they don't.
The baby cocaine bears made me
Uncomfortable because you're like, they're like doing cocaine, they're just babies.
yeah, and I was like, oh, they're gonna do a fucking Lion King Simba moment, aren't they? Or Bambi.
Yeah. Everything the sun touches, everything the cocaine touches belongs to us.
But they subverted that a little bit. We do get that moment. I felt real bad, and then this bear does more cocaine and just comes back to life and spits the bullet out and just fucking rampages some more
Yeah.
and fucking eats. cuts open Ray Liotta's
It was also a little
guts.
too late in the game to introduce the Cubs for us to
It
be
really
like,
was
"Ugh."
late third act, and it's like
Yeah.
new characters.
To the end of the movie. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, well maybe like because they didn't show the girl until they got to the cave, right? And this is the movie is there's too much going on for them to do it, right? They probably had moments where she was in there and became friends with the because there's a line, like a throwaway line where she's like, they're harmless. And like it's like, okay, she's been in here with them for however long, she knows they're harmless. But like
They
imagine there's a
probably
moment
5 to 8 minutes out of the movie of her having these nice moments with the Bears that the team that made the movie realized we can cut all that and just have her say that they're nice.
But at the same time, that 5 minutes of her talking to those Bears would have both made us care about her and them, the Bears. And
I cared about the Cubs. You guys didn't care about the Cubs?
I did, like in so much that
I felt
care
so
about
bad when
Bear
Ray hit
Cubs,
him with the gut.
Okay, but that's because you're watching a person abuse an animal. That's different.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing as actually caring about
Have
the
you seen
personality
Guardians
of
of
the
the
bear.
Galaxy 3? Oh my god, you're gonna fucking shit your pants.
I think that I'm not saying that you're wrong, Killen. What I'm saying is that you're reacting as a human seeing something that is feeble in terms of a human or like lacking understanding of a situation being abused by something that is intelligent, which is a base reaction of all human beings. If you watch somebody who is smart abusing something that is less intelligent than it, you're going to feel sad for the thing, right? But if there was a, even not even 8 minutes, but like a 1 minute scene of her seeing the Bears and being scared of the Bears and then interacting with the Bears and then the Bears being high on cocaine and bringing like a stick or a ball and just playing with her for like 10 seconds and her being happy and the Bears being happy, you would understand personality between the two of those. And the bear being abused would no longer just be like animal versus man, you seeing the man abuse the animal and you getting upset. You would be like, no, that bear loves the ball game and now I hate you even more. But you would also know a little bit more about that character of the girl who we didn't get anything from other than like she likes drawing on her shoe and painting on the waterfall. This is like the only shit we know about her.
Has a forced Tennessee accent. And
again, one of the biggest downfalls of this movie is that there's so many fucking characters and we don't care about a single one.
How do you paint on water?
Waterproof paint.
Yeah. Oh, what's the sound of one hand clapping?
You ever seen like that guy who can like put that tape on a boat while it's already underwater? It's like that.
Flex Seal. I cut my boat in half.
Yeah. And now it's back together underwater.
I just cut this boat in half. Here's a line that I liked. When did you all get so soft? Or get sand in your pussies?
Yeah. That wasn't even creative writing to me because you've heard that before and everything, right?
And so
it was good. It was good because it was Ray Liotta saying it. But if it was anyone else,
keeps asking Kyle if he has sand in his vagina, which is a more eloquent way to do that joke. Sand in your vagina is much better than sand in your pussies.
Yeah, okay, I'm down with that.
Oh, Kyle, do you have sand in your vagina?
Well,
Steve's
vagina has more
does
syllables, which makes it funnier when you say it.
More syllables, more funny.
It's Steve's his favorite thing when somebody does a Carmen impression. Kyle, you have sand in your vagina.
Did you guys know that a gazebo is a pavilion style structure?
I did, yes, because there's a gazebo in Point Pleasant Park.
That was also kind of a good joke when he's like, yeah, it's a pavilion style structure. And the guy's like, I know what a fucking gazebo is. Like, that was pretty funny. And then
Eddie's
Alden in the background being like, I did not know what it was. So I appreciate
So thank you.
Yeah. See, that is again, genuinely a funny moment, but
that one was good. Yeah.
Then it's undercut by the acting, and like I think that the blonde-haired guy is pretty funny consistently. Like his character is, because he's like dumb, right? Like he's like a dummy, so everything he says is like, oh, it's innocent, even though he's like a piece of shit. You're like, oh, okay, but he doesn't understand. He doesn't know no better. And like the whole time that he's there, you're kind of like, all right, this guy's a little bit of a sweetheart, even though he's like a gang member who robs people.
Do you remember the name of their gang? It's so bad, it's so dumb.
It was the Duchamps, I think.
The Duchamps.
Yeah. What made them think they could take on O'Shea is what I wanted.
What's
to
bad
know.
about Duchamps? I don't understand.
It's just a dumb. It doesn't mean anything. It's just dumb. It's how I.
Oh,
Kalen raises a good point though. When David is like, "Yeah, good one, guys," and then they come at him one by one with the knife, and he's just
Yeah.
rocking them. Is that like the beginning of the movie, basically? That
So
fight
this-
scene was awesome.
I kind of disagree. I think it was poorly edited, and there's a couple of scenes in this movie that I think are really off point in terms of editing, and like I would change just a few things, and I think it would solve the problem. And like I'm not a master editor, but like that scene aside, it didn't have like gravitas to me. It didn't feel weighty. Imagine they filmed it like a John Wick scene where it's just like
True. If it was
crazy.
the camera's a bit shakier and there was more like the
Weight?
hits felt a little bit more
like
heavy.
he puts somebody's head through a sink or something, or like
Yeah.
like slams them through a toilet.
I do like when Eddie comes in, he's like, "Did you kill those guys?" He's like, "One
I
of them
think
might be dead."
maybe two of them are dead.
Maybe the one that
Right.
stabbed me.
Okay, but like, okay, that's a good assessment. I just thought that I was kind of bored already by that point in the movie, and
So
it
you were
was
excited to see some.
I was excited to see a
people
little bit
jumping
of-
on top of other people. Yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
a film?
This is absolutely a film.
Come
Yes.
on, guys, just don't. No, it's just
It's
don't even
happening.
worry. All right,
it's
fine.
going-
You guys
it's
can ask and answer the
forever.
question. I
There was
have something
notes.
to. I have something to add to the conversation we were just having about that scene. But if you guys want to talk about this, then yeah. go ahead.
Sorry. One and done. We got through it. What were you gonna say, Steve? My apologies.
So I think that the most poorly edited sequence, not scene, but sequence within a scene, is when the paramedics arrive and they go into the ranger hut and they're like, "Holy shit! I thought you called in a concussion." It's like they did
Concussion.
call it a concussion, and like there's a guy with his
With a
head
fucking-
blown off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so
that's
it's
pretty
so
severe
strange.
concussion.
It's so strange because like I know exactly how I would edit this scene based on what they've presented me in this movie and like how I would think to write the scene and edit the scene. They have this whole moment where he goes in and opens the door and the head rolls and he's like not reacting to it the way that anybody would react to a severed head rolling up to your foot, and then seeing the bear in the corner. All the while she's trying to like get a pulse from the ranger on her chest, and she can tell she's breathing and her heart's beating and she's trying to speak the whole time. And then it goes back to him and the bear is like coming out of the shadow in the corner like and like he closes the door quietly, and then like he turns around and he's like, "We got to get out of here." And then it goes back to her and she picks up the thing and says like "bear" or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Why the fuck did they edit why did they
I-
edit it that way? Like
I think, Kaylin, you can probably answer this. In the theater, that moment probably played a lot better because it was probably super loud.
hold on. Let me just give you two snippets of how you could change that scene to make it 10,000 times better.
Okay.
You film it from like a John Carpenter-y angle, right? Like she's putting the thing on her chest and trying to find her pulse. She finally finds her pulse. He's opening the door. You cut to him. It's just his reaction. It's a dark room. He looks down. And then you see the hand of the ranger grab the hand of the paramedic, and it pulls the little speaker for the, whatever the fucking thing, stethoscope up to her mouth. And you just hear as she's breathing into it, like the ranger's breathing into it. And it cuts back to him and you hear like the breathing of in the room, and you see his eyes go wide as the head kind of like rolls by his foot. And then it goes back to her and you hear "bear," and then the door just like smashes open. The bear is on the door, right?
Okay.
I like that edit.
I was
And you can use
captivated
all
by
of the
that,
shots
so-
that they had, like all the shots that I just thought of are in the movie already. Like, come on, man.
I watched a
Right?
side by side of the.
Am I wrong? Am I
No,
wrong about that?
No, I'm gonna tell you why you're right. I watched a side by side of the Joss Whedon cut versus the Zack Snyder cut video that popped I
Of
don't know
this
if you
movie.
guys-
Yeah, I didn't watch that yet.
of this movie.
Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder both re-edited this movie, but I
this
haven't watched
movie.
it yet. Yeah.
No, of Justice League. And what you're saying, like there are some moments in Justice League that are so fucking much better just because Zack Snyder lets things breathe, or he changes the tone. He doesn't put a rock song over a depressed Aquaman, like
Yeah.
just like, and I think that that little re-edit you did for that moment was great. My point was like, I wanted the bear moment with the stethoscope. I thought was really good, but didn't play on it didn't play on my shitty TV. I think that in theaters, your edit with that bear saying bear into the stethoscope and then the bear barreling through
Like
the
you
door.
don't see the bear before the bear,
Before
like
they say it, yeah.
Yeah, I
but
think
showing
that,
the bear like fully like it's bleeding. It's like, okay, we already know the bear is there, so her saying bear
They ruined the reveal.
has no weight, right? Like, but her saying bear and then the bear immediately breaking through is like, that's called dramatic tension.
it's called dramatic tension. It's for the audience, not for the actors in the movie. How about this for comeuppance? Before we fucking wrap her up here, the best thing that happened in this movie as far as comeuppance is Ray Liotta literally dying, like starting to die by hanging from the cocaine bag. I thought that was a really good little, like, being killed by the very thing you were trying to procure, and then gets his fucking guts ripped.
I thought it was his ball sack, and I had to rewind it. It was like, oh no, it's his guts.
You're like, balls.
Why are his balls so long?
I mean,
well, if you want to know how big my balls are, I believe that was a question for Caleb. Let's just say it's a slug on a golf ball.
good Lord.
I was gonna say slug on a beach ball, but slug on a golf ball is much
Both
worse.
of those are very small.
Yeah, that's the tiny penis.
Well, I mean,
Tiny penis, bigger balls, but also tiny balls. Do tiny things.
I'm out of notes. I've covered everything. I got my final thoughts on my what went well. So
this movie was filmed in Ireland. Did you guys know that?
what?
I did not know that.
But it looks like it literally looks like Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted greenery, right? And also Ireland has many sick parks. I think
look like a traditional American
okay
park.
So when I was watching the movie, at the end they got a grant from Ireland and they got a grant from New Zealand. So I think that the grant from New Zealand was probably the Weta, because Weta is based in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ireland one, I assume it was filmed there, but
was the punk kid from New Zealand? Maybe I kind of like got a New Zealand vibe from him.
Could be. Let's find out. Aaron Holiday. His name's Holiday.
Yep. That's
Aaron
a pretty
Holiday.
fucking.
Also, I was
Oceania
weirdly attracted to him. I was like, I want to kiss this boy.
Oops. So
he's not. He was like 26. It's fine.
Oh, that boy. I thought
not the child.
Henry
the guy.
for a second.
No. The other.
Yeah, the adult.
The
teen that's probably 25 in real life.
No, actually, the boy is from Canada. He's from Victoria, British Columbia.
Nice.
Yeah. No, the teen who gets punched. And
who doesn't
taken die. Yeah, no, sorry. Not the child. Yeah, I don't want to kiss a child.
Me and Kaylin, like, you can't really look at each other on a video chat, but we definitely were both like
that makes me more weirded out about the two of you than me, because you immediately assumed that I wanted to kiss a child.
I didn't. I thought that's who you were talking about until you clarified.
All right, fine, fair.
So
I was just playing it.
I don't think that you want to kiss a boy. Sorry, what, Kaylin?
There's nothing wrong with kissing a boy, like a child. Yeah, a boy is a boy. A boy is like a man. A man. Sorry, a male. Yeah, a male. Jesus. It's like saying if I want to kiss a girl, you don't automatically assume I want to kiss a fucking 10-year-old girl. You creep.
Yeah, but never say you want to kiss a female, because that has incel energy.
I know, but I had to differentiate at this point because you guys have now made it like a thing where if I say boy, you think I mean like an 8-year-old boy.
I thought you were talking about Henry. I'm sorry. That's on me.
That's why we need you.
Now I feel weird. What am I supposed to do about this? Okay, let's move on.
Give yourself a hug. Don't worry, I'm back.
Does this look like my mouth?
It does look like a mouth, actually.
My mouth. That's gonna be how you introduce yourself next week on our Muppet episode.
Yeah.
It is kind of a Muppet episode, actually.
Because of the
Megan.
Bears?
Megan.
Oh, literally next week.
Yeah.
Literally next week. It is kind of
Literally.
so we're gonna bring back Muppetizing movies, is what you're saying?
I mean, for that episode, it seems maybe appropriate. Whereas every other episode we've ever done, I don't
Real
like
quick,
it.
I'm gonna Muppetize
That's what
this
makes
movie.
it funny.
Real quick, I'm gonna Muppetize
They're all
this movie.
Beaker. Everyone's Beaker.
They're all Beaker, and the bear is played by the bear, the Muppet Bear. Muppet Bear. It does all the cocaine.
Like, oh, do you have any more cocaine?
I'm the bear from the Muppets hole.
Hi, bird.
I went
I
into the
need some
bathroom.
more
I licked the top of the toilet bowl, and it doesn't taste funny anymore. It doesn't taste like Tylenol anymore.
I get it, man. Cocaine, the Muppet Cocaine Bear movie. Fucking do that. Do that next, Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, 100 years from now, it's all gonna be Muppets, and everything's gonna be a remake.
Everything's
And they'll finally reach Cocaine Bear, and we'll be
I
all
saw a
cool.
tweet that was like, after I die, replace my, like, have an open casket funeral, replace my body, cremate my body, or throw me in the trash. Put me as a Muppet in the casket.
I feel like we'll talk about that next week with Becca.
Do you guys have any other notes before we get to our final thoughts?
I don't.
Then I will hand it off to you, Steven. Why don't you start us off with your final thoughts?
Don't you guys feel like the movie kind of burnt itself out after that ambulance scene? Like there was nothing as good after that.
As
That was like the ambulance escape.
as my what went
scene.
well. Yeah. It's the
Alright.
best part of the movie. Yeah. The climax of the movie happens halfway through the movie for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The movie Cocaine Bear was clearly not written by someone who was on cocaine while they wrote it. It should have been. The movie feels like it is trying to run down the middle of funny and serious rather than choosing a tone and going all in on either of those things, which causes both to suffer. An absurd version of this would have been better in a cartoonish presentation, which comedy would naturally live in like a deadpan serious version of this movie. So like, you know, one would be funny based on just like cans of peas talking, whereas one would just be like people being like, what do you mean a cocaine bear? And it would be like going into like a
Don't fall
cocaine bear.
asleep.
Yeah, like it would have been funny. While I did chuckle and I did like more than a few moments, I ultimately felt confused and wishing for something more. I'm not 100% certain what more I wanted, but I do think that there are, you know, imaginations of things. My imagination, at least, can take this into so many directions. I think I went through it throughout the episode where I was like, imagine they did this, and you guys are like, yeah. I don't know what people expected from this, but I think it's fine. It's like literally just when people say mid, right? That's what I think that this movie is. It's mid. Middle of the road. It's not terrible, but it's not good. It's just a movie that will maybe be loved by 14-year-olds who saw it in theaters and will one day watch it together as 30-year-olds and say, remember when we saw this together?
Remember when we thought this was good?
Yeah, and they'll be doing real cocaine, being like, ugh, it's way better when you're on cocaine.
I found this cocaine in an old sock that my dad
Oh man,
had.
I wonder if this movie
I'm so
is
glad cocaine is legal now in the year
I told you.
2060. Yeah, but I don't know what people are expecting, but I do feel like at the end of the day, this movie feels like it was a little bit of a cash grab. It's a cash grab, folks. This movie was a cash grab. And I think that what went well, the characters played tone well for what they were most likely told to do overall. Everyone was earnest, everyone was playing big, but ultimately the tone was off because they kept shifting tone in terms of music and cinematography and everything else. I think the actors did fine. I just think that the movie itself didn't support the actors to kind of come together and make what they, I think, had planned to make. When it comes to what could have been better, I've already said a billion times that I don't think there's a singular thing, but I think that focusing on funny or serious would have helped a lot. If they had been able to decide funny or serious instead of trying to mesh those two things together, just choose one, and the funny would have been funny and the serious would have been funny as well, because the concept is just funny. It's a funny concept. A cocaine bear attacking people, make it super serious. It'll be funny. Don't worry about it. So when it comes down to my rating, I give this movie a tablespoon-sized portion of cocaine force-fed to you by a 12-year-old, causing you to spit it out and realize how much cocaine this fucking idiot just wasted. And then you slap him. You fool!
Thank you. Jason, that brings us to you. Please do us the honor of sharing your final thoughts with us.
My final thoughts are just the song Jane. No.
That would have been good, actually. Can we end on that?
That song is better than this movie, I'll tell you that much. Like I said, I own that record and I didn't know. I was going through my record collection to like pare it down, and I found the Jefferson Starship with Jane on it. I put it on immediately. So here's my final thoughts. Yeah.
Nice.
I have shit tons of vinyl, and then now it's like curated in a way that like it feels like my collection. It was my dad's. He's not dead, but it's my dad's. Was my dad's collection. When you say "was" for a parent, it's
like, yeah.
Anyway, he's still alive. He gave me his record collection because I'm a fucking hipster. Here's my final thought for Cocaine Bear 2023. I didn't really care for this. I'm like the one of the more positive figures on our show. I find, like, I'll take a movie that you guys objectively hate or Steve hates, and I'm like, I liked it. This one,
what do you mean? I don't hate anything. I've never hated a movie on this show.
You went to film school, so you're
What about all the movies I picked?
Well, I hate all the movies you pick, but name another.
Buster Keaton, the general.
He picked that. I said name another.
Subscribe to the Patreon I'm going to build, and you can get that episode exclusively for you. I did not care for this. I get what they were trying to do, and Elizabeth Banks got to show off her directing chops, but overall this feels like a miss. I liked how brutal some of the gore was, and I liked that they were able to take a pretty dumb news article and get a whole movie out of it. The pacing was kind of weird, and I'm glad this movie wasn't any longer. I'm pretty sure the bear died in real life also, so I was hoping they had to like blow it up Jaws style to stop it from rampaging, which would have made it a movie. But it is a film because there's only a chase and no explosion. What went well? Actually, that's weird that I went to the what I already had a what went well, because I wrote another what went well, and what went well in this movie overall was the sequence of 3 brutal deaths right in a row. That was my favorite part of the movie.
Ambulance part?
The ambulance chase was great. It was fine. But like him getting killed, her getting fucking hoisted out of the back and grinding on the ground and dying, and then the ambulance driver getting fucking shot out the window from crashing into a tree. Wear your seatbelts.
Was that a racist joke?
Was what a racist joke?
The ambulance driver hitting a tree?
Shit.
Oh God,
no,
Kaylin,
come on! Don't look for.
I think
things
that you're
aren't there.
racist for asking that.
Don't look for things that aren't.
I
there.
didn't even think of that until just now, which
Now
means
When I
it
was
was not a
watching-
racist joke. It means that you just said a racist thing.
The 3 of us getting it, the 2 of us getting it, we're all racist now because we all went there.
But I didn't even think of that.
I
until
didn't think
just
of it
now.
until just now. At any rate,
I got you back.
that whole sequence was fucking phenomenal compared to like a lot of the rest of the movie. And I agree with you, Steve, after talking through it. A lot of jokes that did land were funny, but I think through the lens of you just retelling them is what I found funnier than them telling them in the movie. And
That's
that
totally
fucking,
fair though as well.
that
I think
Penne
that
bit really made me go like, oh, they're gonna just tell really.
is it going to be just like a somebody being like, this chicken come with it? It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's plain.
It's plain.
Like,
I hated
ugh.
that. So what went well was that, but what went well also was the cocaine bear itself. All the cocaine bear stuff I liked. I really liked the animation of its face. Its face was very like, it was animated in a really cool, fun way. Like I really like it. Had a lot of expression to it. Had a lot of personality, I thought. But even better, more cocaine bear. Just more cocaine bear. Don't even make him a fucking like Freddy Krueger or Jason. Don't make him like. Don't
The
make him like
unfortunate fact is that the reason we don't see more cocaine bear is because they
too
were trying to keep
expensive.
that budget down.
Keep that budget down. And I just make the cocaine bear less of a monster of the week or like grimoire familiar killers.
Imagine they made a cocaine bear 2 and the budget was $50 million.
Yeah, doubled with practical
Jason, your laugh just then sounded like what's his name from Parks and Rec? Mustache Man.
Oh, Ron
Swanson.
Swanson thinking
Yeah,
about the
you
government.
you did like a
That's Ron Swanson. That's my impression of Ron Swanson thinking about the government being toppled.
I'm sorry, Jason, did you just say Wong Swanson?
Ron Swanson, his long lost
everyone's
Asian
racist
cousin.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is our anyway. I wanted more rampaging cocaine bear, and I guess for a horror comedy, the bear is a monster. Is the monster. So
yeah.
I guess for a horror comedy, the bear as a monster worked. I gave this movie a 2.5 out of 5.
Mhm.
I think that ties to what you were saying, Steve. Like middle of the road.
I don't even say mid. I don't think I've ever said mid before.
I say mid all
today.
the time. And
I know
as
you
soon
do,
as
and
you
I don't
said
like it. Every time you say it, I'm like, what are you trying to do
16?
here? What are you trying to prove, Jason?
No, I'm allowing new lingo and new language to become part of the zeitgeist because I think it's important to evolve language. I gave this movie an exploding bag of blow over a cliffside, but only a small amount gets sniffed. I also give this movie doing a line of blow, but the time between needing more gets shorter and shorter until you wonder what you even did the blow in the first place for.
And then you start digging into your fingernails.
Yeah. Licking the fucking surface and licking the bag. I don't know. That's what I've heard people do.
Which credit card did I use again?
Yeah. And your wallet's all fucking covered in blow for some reason.
Spit and blow.
Spit and cum. I mean, wait, what?
Oh, Jason, don't tell anybody what to come.
Awesome.
Or whatever. I'll never be able to do that.
No, that was an accidental noise you made, and it was very good, and I don't think you'll ever be able to recreate it.
Watch the playback and then try and mimic yourself.
Do an impression of myself.
It was like a it's like a very, low-key clown laugh. You've heard Ron Swanson's giggle before, right?
I know exactly. That's why as soon as you said it, it's when he's a libertarian. So it's like the government crumbling. He hates the government. He hates the way the government.
He also
does
that's his real laugh though too.
Yeah.
When you hear him laugh on like interviews and stuff, and in The Last of Us, he laughs like that.
Yeah. Nick Offerman, fucking fantastic actor. Who, just as a side note, if you ever think that you can't get into acting because you're too old, that dude's acting career started when he was like in his mid-40s. So
you said I was too old.
I've never said you were too old. Please continue to try acting. You're too old to fucking be like a teenager in a movie. But
Kaylin, I think Jason gave you a tiny bit of criticism and you took it as you're too old, Kaylin. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
And then you were like, he
hit his head on the fucking bathroom, the top of the bathroom door frame?
Like
All right,
that,
Kaylin,
like
go
that
ahead.
vine. It's summer and I got my hat on. Boom.
And tipped his hat like so.
Ding. We did it. Kaylin, take us home, buddy.
All right, let's wrap things up. So, I originally went into this movie thinking it was going to be like an Anchorman, stupid, silly, funny, which it wasn't. And I was disappointed and unable to try to enjoy the movie for what it was. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Don't go into movies with expectations. You're going to set yourself up for failure. Watching it this go around, knowing what it wasn't, I was able to enjoy it a little bit more for what it was trying to be, which I believe it was trying to be kind of like a good, bad movie / the old kind of campy horror movies that are, have jokes in them kind of thing, right? There's moments and scenes where I see what they're trying to do, but doesn't exactly hit the mark. For my what went well, I put the blonde-haired punk teen kid. I really enjoyed his acting. For my even better,
Or the boy, as I call him, which you guys all thought was a creep for wanting to give us smooch.
I didn't. I just thought that's what you were talking about. It has no idea. It has nothing to do with the fact you said boy. I thought that's what you were just talking about. That's on me.
Sounds like you
And
guys
the
are the
little boy
real
is blonde,
perverts.
so-
I'm a pervert racist. Okay. Don't.
For my
Don't-
even
I'm a
better,
pervist, and I'm starting an island.
Sorry, Kaylin. I'm starting an island. Sorry, Kaylin.
time is it here? For my even better, I put execution ?
Yeah. I feel
Who was
So-
executed? Wait, what?
How the movie was executed.
Oh, I thought you meant there was an execution in the movie, and I was like, when?
No.
there were a couple.
There were kind of a few, yeah.
But so originally when I saw it, I would have said, this is a pass. You don't need to go see it. Don't even bother. Having watched it again now, I'll say, you know what? Give it a watch. But watch it through the lens of it. Like, pretend this movie was made in the 80s.
Yes.
And you know what I
I
mean?
mean, the movie's pretending it's doing that, so yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? Exactly. So watching it through that lens, I think will add a little bit of value to your viewing experience.
Sorry, can I
and-
just say I know it's supposed to take place in the 80s, but it wholly the entire time felt like it was pretending to take place. Like
Absolutely.
everyone was in a costume, right? Like
You want
it
the
felt like a
80s
Halloween version of what the 80s is.
You want the 80s to feel like almost a character if you're going to do a retro movie. It didn't. It just feels like it just happened to be in the 80s and people weren't really, because people dress like it's the 80s now anyway. So like,
yeah.
Anyway, I agree.
So also right quick, we did the movie title shout out. This is our highest MPAA yet because it just came out a few months ago.
6 billion.
54 139, and I give it. Does it come with any chicken?
Kaylin, when you went down and you did that noise,
He did cocaine for real.
no, it sounded like a bear noise was also happening. Like, when you went down it, like your nostril also made like a like in the background of the.
That's because my nostril's broken from all.
Can you do it again? Do it again.
I'll be right back.
All right. Right? Does it not sound like there's a bear in the background?
Sounds like there's
coming
a
through his
fucking
window?
T-Rex actually. It sounds like a bit of a dinosaur. Sounds like the
Can't
baby.
wait to watch the playback.
Sounds like the baby T-Rex in Jurassic Park: The Lost World.
Exactly. And for Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Steven and for Kaylin, I'm Jason.
For Jason, for Kaylin, I am Steven.
And we just got to ask you one thing. Hey. Oh, no. 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 I mean, hey. You see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? This one. Hey, did you see?
Did you
This one.
see it?
This one.
Diddling.
So normally I would just that's